Santa baby, the season for a fresh cut is finally here with the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have just launched their 5th generation performance package to help you avoid another silent night in the bedroom this year. Take care of your special snowflake with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and watch your South Pole shine like never before. Get the best stocking stuffer of all by going to manscaped.com and using code GISHOW for 20% plus free shipping, and Mrs. Claus will thank you. I've used Manscaped products for years, specifically the lawnmower and the beard hedger, long before they sponsored this show. I was frustrated for years after experiencing a ton of subpar men's care products and decided I'd never go back after experiencing Manscaped's high quality offerings. Both products I mentioned leverage the company's advanced skin-safe technology, which is known for reducing nicks and cuts. My wife also uses Manscaped products after feeling the quality for herself. Manscaped offers an abundance of products, making it the one-stop shop for all of your holiday shopping needs. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code GISHOW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code GISHOW. Say ho 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 to a well-groomed mistletoe with Manscaped.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us each and every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals from Game Informer staff, along with special guests from around the industry. I am your host, Marcus Stewart. I am joined in a rare appearance by Brian Shea. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Marcus? Where are your other two co-hosts?
Dead? Maybe? I don't know. I only say that because, when I was gone, I was presumed dead. So that seems to just be, like, I had an obituary and everything on the video version for some reason.
It said gone but never forgotten. And you were gone and we didn't forget you. So
Technically, that's accurate.
technically not dead. Just you were also in black and white. So maybe it just gave off the wrong vibe.
Imagine, like, what else could you infer from an obituary-looking graphic?
Exactly.
That other voice you just heard is Charles Harte. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I am here and remembered.
Yes, that's why I invited you. I remembered you. And we have a special guest, friend of the show, formerly of Prima Games, now the hottest free agent in all of games media, Jesse Vitelli. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Excited to chat about video games this week and just vibe, you know?
Yeah.
We love vibe in here.
We're a pretty good vibing crew. Brian, you've got a vibe right now?
Yeah, I'm just, vibing.
Yeah. Awesome. The Vibin' Bros. That's what I'm calling us right now, our new stable. Don't tell anyone else about it. This is our secret club, guys. We'll come up with a handshake later, okay?
Perfect.
It'd be like a V-shape thing. I don't know. Oh, there we go. I think that's Wu-Tang, Charles.
Maybe it's ours too. I don't know. I'm so chill. I'm just vibing.
Yeah. And yeah, we've got a packed show this week. We're going to be talking about Tekken 8. Brian, you got to play quite a bit of it recently and wrote a big preview of it online. We're going to be talking about Apollo Justice, the remaster trilogy that you got to play, Charles. We're going to be talking about Fortnite doing everything, it seems like. There's just a bunch of new stuff in Fortnite now. And until recently, that was more or less going to be the big hits of the show, besides our usual housekeeping and as well as listener questions. But we got a bit of breaking news this morning as we're recording Tuesday, December 12th, that E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, for the longest time, the biggest annual event in all of video games, has now officially died, according to the ESA.
Joining the ranks of Alex Van Aken and Kyle Hilliard, apparently.
Yes.
Gone but never forgotten, one might say.
Never forgotten.
We should have prepared an E3 graphic. Oh, man.
There's still time.
Yeah. Yeah, sad news, but like not entirely unexpected, unfortunately. I think all of us can agree that E3, even before the pandemic, was pretty much on a downward trajectory, just in terms of relevancy and just general importance. But it just kind of came out of nowhere today that the ESA just sort of finally took it out back with a shotgun and put it out of its misery, especially because, we were supposed to get an E3 this year with Reed Pop, the organizer of PAX, sort of leading the charge on that. That, of course, fell apart, which we talked about at the time. But even when that collapsed, the ESA had planned to try it again next year. Like, they straight up said, like, yeah, 2025, we'll be back. We'll be back at the I think they were going to choose a different venue. I think the word out that they were going to get out of the LA Convention Center and find somewhere else. But it just, the messaging sounded like, yeah, we're going to try this next year and then possibly even into 2026. And yeah, that's just not happening anymore. And the news is still sinking in. It's like mixed feelings, I guess, in a sense of like there's that cynicism of like, well, yeah, the writing was on the wall for a long time, so this is sort of like the natural progression of like, yeah, this was going to go away. But as someone that, and I imagine all of us too, of like growing up watching E3, and for some of us getting to attend E3, it's almost weird to know 100% for sure that there will never be another one now, as opposed to being 90% sure it wasn't going to happen. And I thought we just, share our initial reaction. So Brian, first reaction, what do you make of all this?
When I was looking at my screen, I was just kind of like, huh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I loved E3 whenever I went. I never really had the cynicism that a lot of my my colleagues and people in the industry tended to have, where it's like, oh my god, I don't want to go to E3. Like, I always loved going to E3. I always thought that it was fun to like go and see all the new games, see all the people who make them, see fellow people in games media. Like, I loved hanging out with them. That's why I loved going to the Game Awards so much last week. It's just like, there's so many people in this industry that I like and care for a lot, and it's a great opportunity to see all of them and meet new people. And it's sad that it's gone. My first E3 was 2014, and that was where I first met Reiner and Andy McNamara, and then 6 months later I was being hired at Game Informer. So like the power of networking is real. But it's something that really it does feel like there's going to be a kind of a crater left in its wake, even as like Jeff Keighley has already been picking over the corpse of E3 before it even really died. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna miss like the stuff that publishers used to do, like the big spectacle and everything, because like we still get a little bit of that with the Game Awards and with Summer Game Fest and even to a lesser degree Gamescom opening night live. But it feels like the spectacle's been tuned down. We don't get like the extravagant parties that like what was it, like the Who performed at like a rock band party before my time. It's just like that would never happen at Summer Game Fest. But like we do get some cool stuff still, but like I have so many great memories of E3, and it's a bummer to think that it will never happen, even though it probably 2019 was the last time we really had a legit E3, and even then it was starting to trend in like a weird direction with having it be primarily a consumer show and like taking like 20 minutes to get from one hall to the other. I remember being like, what was it, like 2018? Was that the first time they did like the full on
2017?
I whatever it was, I remember just like, because normally it would take like 10 minutes to get from one hall to the next. I remember being like 10 minutes late to several of my appointments because like you would basically get stuck in the pedestrian version of LA traffic going from one hall to the next, where you're just like standing in place shoulder to shoulder with 1,000 other people. And it's like, well, there's literally nowhere I can go unless I exit the entire convention center and go around. I would say that was when like the downward trend of E3 really started, but like they had to do something in order to keep up with like the shifting sands of this industry and like the continued shift that a lot of developers and publishers had of like, we're just going to do our own streaming thing. And like Microsoft and Sony started doing off-site stuff. Nintendo obviously was kind of the first one to be like, we're not going to have like an E3 press conference. We're just going to do this streaming thing called Nintendo Direct. And, good luck with that, guys. But, it was an ever evolving show. And I think that it was going downhill. And then when COVID hit, it really took a back seat in terms of relevance. And unfortunately for them, Jeff Keighley really ate their lunch with Summer Game Fest. And unfortunately, even ReedPop, who have a ton of experience with putting on shows. I mean, I was just at PAX West a few months ago and I still had a great time there. So they know how to put on a convention. Even they couldn't salvage it. So that was when the writing was really on the wall for me, where I was like, okay, this thing is probably never coming back. And this was just really confirmation for me.
Yeah, it's so weird because like my first E3, I've been lucky enough to get to go to 4. And it's weird, within those 4, it was like the last 4 to happen, but they were some of the most like, I guess, transformative, because my first one was 2016, which was the last E3 to only be for media and press. So I guess the last E3 in its traditional form. And I had the same thing where it was only a few months after my Game Informer internship. So like it was sort of a reunion of running into GI editors. Like I remember sitting in one of the concourse halls with my laptop, not knowing how to do this, because it was like not only my first E3, but it was my first industry event, like as like press, and figuring out how to like cover that live. And I remember lugging my very heavy laptop, thinking like, well, I have to write this like on the spot, right? This is what you do. And just sitting down in a hallway with it on my lap, trying to type up some preview that I just done, and then seeing Reiner walk by and like look at me and just give me this quizzical look of like, why is he sitting there just in the open, just legs out, typing this thing? And I'm just like, hey, what's up? And just feeling like a complete scrub of like, wait, is this like the dumb way to do this? And then learning a lot through that experience for like these subsequent shows. And then of course 2017 being the first time they tried to open up to the public as sort of an attempt to rejuvenate it and also get some additional revenue, because they were charging, from what I understand, quite a bit of money to go to it. And that first year famously being a bit of a disaster in terms of like the foot traffic and really not like the booths not really accommodating the like influx of like 50,000 extra people.
And really just a lack of security, too, because I remember that was the year that I also had a death threat against me, and they told me they were going to do it at E3. Yeah, they told me they were going to do it at E3, which was great because it was the first consumer show. And then walking into the convention center with, like, no security whatsoever, and I'm like, okay, cool.
For what? Did you give something a bad review? What's the...
It was an Xbox opinion piece that I wrote.
Well, you know what they say, you're not truly a game journalist until you get your first death threat. So, that was, I think you were just getting your stripes.
Well, I'm a 3-time games journalist then.
Oh, no. Jesse, your reaction to this news. Have you been able to go to an E3 at all? And just, what do you think about all this?
So I never got to attend an E3. I came into this industry like basically right before the pandemic. So 2019 would have been my shot, I guess, but just kind of passed me by. So, but I grew up watching G4, their extensive coverage of all the press conferences. I had like 2 friends that cared, so they would come over and we'd like watch some of the conferences together, and it was like it was a good time. And then like when we shifted more to like YouTube creation, it was a lot of watching other YouTubers like walk the floor and show off the booths, and like it was just like the spectacle of it was like always super appealing to me. I was like, oh, I would love to go to this one day. Like, this is super cool. All these publishers are here, developers just showing off their games with some of the most elaborate booths I've ever seen. I think like one year, like Mafia had like a tarot card reader, and it was like all like New Orleans themed, and it was like this like crazy booth. And I just remember being like, damn, I want to go to that one year. And now it's dead, so I'll never go. And Summer Game Fest is great. I went last year and I had a great time, but I've never been to E3, so I can't say it's not the same. But like, it doesn't feel like what I saw growing up as a kid is not what Summer Game Fest is, and that's fine. It could be its own thing,
right?
But it is kind of a bummer. But when I woke up this morning and I saw everyone posting like E3 is dead, E3 is dead, I'm like, oh, we're doing this again, because we've been saying this for the last 3-4 years now, right? But then I was like, oh no, this year it's actually dead. We're done with it. Okay, this is the real one now.
Yeah, it's not just a saying anymore. It's just objective fact now.
But it has been fun to see everyone talk about their E3 memories and sort of all these like weird little moments that happen at the show that like you don't really get anywhere else, kind of like, I don't know, just running into somebody in like the food court, or just on the floor, and being able to just have that like personal connection, which is like my favorite part of going to events, is always the people, and seeing seeing friends or people I haven't met yet that I've like admired their work, or like they're making a game that I really like. And that stuff still can exist in other spaces, but it seemed like E3 was always such a pillar of that every year, and
Yeah,
that's a bummer to see that go.
Where else am I going to run into Hideo Kojima in the men's room?
Exactly.
Yeah, when I think about E3 memories, I realize how many of them were like embarrassing for me personally, but like in a good way, where like my first E3, like within like the first 30 minutes of getting into the show floor for the first time, it was like such a, it's that mad rush to get to the demos and whatever. And I remember I immediately shoulder checked Mark Cerny, like just ran right into him, not knowing it was him until I turned around. And he made a noise too, like that's how hard I hit him. He made like an audible like grunt, like.
Oh my god, I had a similar experience at the Game Awards last week, where I inadvertently just completely truck sticked Todd Howard at the Xbox mixer, and he didn't make a noise, but he did like one of those like stumble steps when I did it. And
He
I felt really
glitched?
bad.
He glitched. He went into a T-pose immediately after you hit him.
The collision was just a little bit off. The collision
Yeah.
mechanics.
He was stuck in the ground for the rest of the night. Yeah.
Todd
Just
Howard has a
clipped
huge
in.
hitbox confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Jesse, like the vibe of like Summer Games Fest versus E3 is definitely very different. Where like I went to the first Summer Games Fest, I didn't go this year, but it was a lot more relaxed, a lot more intimate, which I actually appreciated, because like I guess that like the worst thing about E3 is how hectic it can be. Like you're on your feet, like Brian mentioned, running 10-15 minutes to get to like a hall on the other side of where you are to make some appointment, and then trying to like truck stick your way through hundreds of people as you do that, and hope you don't hit someone famous that could blackball you or something. So I didn't miss that part of it, but I do miss the spectacle. Like I remember, I think it was my first E3 that had the Nintendo had the Breath of the Wild booth that looked amazing.
That was sick, yeah.
Yeah, like I remember going through that and just like marveling at everything. Or I think it was the year after that, they had the Mario Odyssey booth that looked equally fantastic, and I got one of those the Cappy visors that were like a big hit, where I just remember everyone trying to get one, and they only gave them out like once an hour or something like that. So they were like this weird coveted item on the show floor. Like you see someone with them, like, where did you get it? Did they give away Cappy hats again? So I'm gonna miss that part of it. But Charles
Nintendo always had a really good booth, like whether they were recreating Hyrule from Breath of the Wild, or New Donk City from Mario Odyssey. I remember one time, I guess it was they were promoting Sword and Shield, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and they had like an arena, like a sports arena that they almost recreated, like in just like one little area of the thing. And then like when they were doing Link's Awakening, they had like a like real life dioramas that like featured different areas of the game that were really neat. And Nintendo, their booths were always the highlight for me, and that's just not because I'm a Nintendo guy. Like they always put, I think, the most effort, aside from like I guess eventually it turned into Epic Games with Fortnite. Like Fortnite had like the most insane booths ever.
they had like trampolines with like people jumping on them and stuff, and like I think they had like a bull riding machine or something one day.
They had one of those things where it was like you're in like a giant circle kind of pit, and then like they had like those like foam like arms swinging around.
Yes, I remember that.
Under them. Yeah, they had those. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool booths that I think about a lot whenever I'm just kind of reminiscing on E3 memories. And then like, so many chance encounters, like when I felt like something hit my ankle and I looked down and it was Vern Troyer riding around on his scooter, and he rammed me in with his scooter. That was just one of the most random moments of my life.
And then you looked at him and said, "You're blacklisted."
When people talk about bumping into people in public, I usually assume it's like metaphorical, but you have several stories of literally running into people. I guess except Hideo Kojima, who I hope you didn't run into. Literally.
He was usually surrounded by security. Like I remember seeing him one time in the distance, and I was like, I should say something or try to interact with him in some way, but he had like a fleet of dudes. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna penetrate that.
Like a Secret Service.
pretty much. Reggie Fils-Aimé had that too one year where I was trying to get it again, see if I could get a photo op, but he had his whole like crew. So the best I could do was get like a very awkward and weird picture of him from behind walking, and that's like my only picture of Reggie Fils-Aimé.
I mean, all those like luminaries, like Kojima, like Miyamoto, they always had like a bubble of people around them just to, because they know that like the moment like Shigeru Miyamoto walks anywhere that isn't like media people only or like Nintendo people only, he's just going to get mobbed.
Yeah.
So like, you know, they're well prepared for that.
Plus, this was the years where fans were there too. Like they would need that even when it was just press, but now that the general public was there, it was like probably extra important now. So, yeah. Charles, I don't know if you noticed, but you're younger than all of us.
I'm a baby,
and I'm curious about like what E3 meant to you, like watching these kids. I've never had the experience of watching it as like, you know, a child, more or less.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, so I distinctly remember it was like the summer of 2014 or 2015. I like knew E3 was a thing, but it was like one of the first years where I was like anticipating it. I was like, oh, it's June, that means it's coming. And I remember I got my Game Informer in the mail. I don't remember what was on the cover. It might have been Destiny. But I do remember like being aware of E3 was very much my transition from like enjoying games as a just thing versus like engaging with the industry or at least paying attention to the stuff that was going on. And yeah, I guess I was going to say from my perspective, like obviously E3 and Summer Game Fest are different things, but like from a consumer perspective, it doesn't really feel all that different because a lot of the E3 stuff is still continued on in some other form if you're just watching it like digitally, like via live streams. So I am curious of like, I don't know what this means for like the average person, you know, like it's not like companies aren't going to announce their games anymore.
Right.
Or that they're not going to make a big deal out of it. But
if anything, they announce things more often now.
Yeah, true. And I'm interested to see like if there is any like years from now, if we can look back and see the effect of like this is how news was covered near E3 or at least at the end of E3 versus like this is the Summer Game Fest model of like how much more spread out is it? Are we getting less hands-on stuff because not everyone's in the same place at the same time? Yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even this past summer, it was like proof of like you mentioned, there's no danger of like losing out on announcements. Like we joke around now about Summer Games Fest, which is really like a month of coverage rather than like a week between like the main showcase and then all of this sort of like sister showcases that are like adjacent to it, whether it's like the Wholesome Game Show or the PC Gaming Show or like the Devolver Show. Like there's always so much now happening in June. Like the one thing I maybe will miss about E3 was having a lot of that concentrated in one week. And this is me purely talking as a games media person. Like it just made it easier to know like, okay, it's all in this one week basically. Once this week is over, we're basically done, where it's now it's like the whole month, right? Where you're just like, okay, Sega has a thing suddenly in 2 weeks, we gotta watch that, or Capcom has a thing that we didn't know about till now, so gotta watch that now. So it's a little bit more like a shotgun blast than it used to be. But I mean, that's just the way of things. Like it's made me reflect on how ahead of the curve Nintendo really was with all that. Like you could almost maybe, you know, if E3's corpse was a crime scene, then maybe Nintendo's fingerprints would be one of the most prevalent ones on the murder of E3. Because what was it, like 2011, 2012 where they first backed out?
2012, but I mean, yeah, they were at E3 for
right,
like as far as a booth presence up until nearly the end. But yeah, it was. I think 2012 was when the Nintendo Direct started. It could have been 2011, but for some reason 2012 is sticking out in my mind.
Yeah, I just remember
that's as long as I remember. Like I don't remember seeing a Nintendo stage. I remember like watching the clip of them all playing Wii Music one time, but like I haven't actually.
That's a good one to watch.
Show.
Yeah, it's well because the last stage Nintendo thing I believe was the famous Skyward Sword demo that went horribly wrong, right?
Yeah, that one left Miyamoto out to dry pretty much. Like he was on an island with a broken Wii remote and just look how cool our new game is, and then it just wouldn't work. And I think that was really the motivating factor to be like, let's not do a live show anymore. Let's just do like a pre-recorded thing. We control the variables, and if something goes wrong, we can just do another take. Like I think that was probably the thing that like I bet as soon as Shigeru Miyamoto got off stage, he was probably like, we've got to figure out something else because this just isn't working.
You know, do you think there's an alternate timeline somewhere where a Skyward Sword demo goes off without a hitch and Nintendo sticks around for a few more years because they don't have that immediate like thing to look at and see like, see, this is the problem with this format.
It's an interesting what if scenario, but I don't know. I think that they always kind of wanted to go in this direction, and I think that it obviously showed out to be a huge benefit to a lot of publishers to be able to kind of present things on their own terms rather than like the mishaps and follies that are associated with a live stage show.
Yeah, it's just I just been thinking about I can't stop thinking about how at the time when they announced they weren't doing a press conference anymore and everyone, myself included, was just like, they're crazy. Like, what are they thinking? That is insane. Like, nobody wants to watch a pre-recorded video. It doesn't have the same pizzazz as watching some guy go on stage and give like what's likely a very cringe presentation to show something. But you know, lo and behold, over 10 years later, that's like, oh no, they were on to something huge. Who would have thought? I would love to know you guys' favorite E3 memories, whether it's, you know, from attending the show or just an announcement or just something really funny that happened. You know, Jesse, do you have one that immediately leaps to mind?
Something that, yeah, kind of immediately leaps is a more recent memory is PlayStation's 2016 showcase where they just had a live orchestra like score the entire press conference.
Right.
Like, what a cool thing to exist. Like, watching everyone, like watching Hideo Kojima come out to like Mad Max Fury Road or whatever performed by the orchestra. Like, it's just a cool thing that you only get from a live performance, right? Like you get that energy from that sort of like it being a stage show. And that's one that like will always stick with me for some reason. It was just a cool moment.
Yeah, I believe that was the same show where God of War was announced, right? Like
Yep.
kind of out of nowhere.
And it was like 4 minutes or like 3 minutes of them like doing the theme, like building up before the trailer came up. And it was just like, what a cool idea that just like worked out really well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Charles?
I have a joke answer and a serious answer. My joke answer is most Ubisoft musical performances. I always do one for Just Dance, and I have a specific memory of a Jason Derulo one where I was watching it and I was like, this is weird, right? Jason Derulo just showed up when we were doing this, and then just seeing it at any point go to the crowd, and it's like, oh yeah, this isn't a Jason Derulo crowd. This is just journalists here. No one was ready for the enthusiasm they needed to muster for Jason Derulo, and something about his brand of music being broadcasted and just getting nothing back was so funny. I love that.
I went to one of those Ubisoft conferences. I don't remember which one, but being there live and seeing the parade of like costume dancers just come out of every like closet or wherever they keep them in that arena and just storm the stage was just it was a moment. It was an experience. What about you, Brian?
For me, the best memory, I think this was E3 2016, was like the one where I was just like, this has given me everything. Like, I had so many great interviews with a bunch of different developers. Like, I interviewed like 3 different Final Fantasy directors, which was amazing. And like, you know, that was the year I finally got to meet Shigeru Miyamoto. I think that was the year I ran into Charles Martinet just randomly and got to talk with him and get a selfie and everything, which was cool. He was the sweetest man alive. But there's a party that I forget the company that makes it, but Let It Die You remember that game?
Grasshopper
yes.
manufacturer. Is that
Well,
Grasshopper?
Grasshopper was involved, but I don't remember like who the publisher was.
I
But
have
yeah,
I
Grasshopper.
have Uncle Death glasses from like a demo I played of that game now.
Yeah, so it was a concert. It was like a party up in LA Live, and it was just a really small room. Probably honestly like only slightly bigger than my basement that I'm in right now. And they had two bands playing. One was a metal band with Akira Yamaoka, who is the composer of Silent Hill, just shredding on guitar, just playing like metal music like with the Silent Hill composer, which was really sick. And I was like, okay, how are they going to top that? And then a band called the Hellcat Saints came out. Oh, by the way, this was all emceed by Bill Burr. Then and like he was just like hanging out, so like I went and talked to him for a little bit. He's always a fun guy to talk to. The Hellcat Saints were the band that opened. I found like their lineup, and I think that there was a little bit of deviation from like their standard lineup. But the singer was Frankie Perez, who is the touring singer of Apocalyptica. Have you ever seen them? He can sing anything. There was Dave Kushner from Velvet Revolver on guitar, Robin Fink from Nine Inch Nails. Who else? There was Josh Freese, currently in the Foo Fighters, on drums. At the time, also Nine Inch Nails. I think he's been in Queens of the Stone Age as well. I think it was the bassist of Ozzy Osbourne's band.
Okay. Were they all wearing name tags with their band underneath them?
Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses was also in the band. And then, they were just playing like a set list of like classic rock ranging from like the 60s all the way up to like the early 2000s. And like just playing like this amazing rock set list. And then midway through, they brought out Chester Bennington to sing like 6 or 7 songs with them. And then at the end, because I think this was right after Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead just passed away, they all came out, including Akira Yamaoka, and did a gang vocal version of Ace of Spades. And that was how they closed the show. And it was like one of the greatest concerts I've ever been to, and one of the greatest E3 memories that I have. And also, we're all there. It's like a whole bunch of like people that I know just like rocking out together. And then, off to the side, Suda51, who's just a super cool dude. So it was great to chat with him a little bit as well. And just a great night overall.
Wow. Well, I'm glad I asked you to say your thing before mine, because I can't top that. Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of like pure hype stuff, I always think back to the 2013 E3 with that Sony conference where they just went absolutely ham on Microsoft. This was then the lead up of the Xbox One launching, and of course the stumbling blocks of that marketing went through about like, you can't play used games, Connect required, all that stuff. And then Sony just took the stage after they had gone on earlier in the day, and they basically just like launched a nuclear bomb of like, here's every reason why the PS4 is better. And it was just such a smackdown that I had just never seen ever just at that point in terms of like a public stage. Like the closest I can think of is like way back in what was it, the first E3 where the famous Sega Saturn story where they famously launched their thing the day that they announced it, and then Sony had their thing where they walked up on stage and all the president just said was the price and walked off, and it was like cheaper than the Saturn. It was like that. It's funny now that I'm thinking about it, it's twice that Sony's done something like that. And I'm not like a console fanboy for anything. Like I own everything and I have no dog in any race. But like I remember at the time just being annoyed at Microsoft of like, what are they thinking? Like after the 360, this is what they do? And then there was like a satisfaction to see Sony go out and be like, no, that's stupid. Here's what we're gonna do, and this is so much better. On top of like the amazing game lineup that they had that year. Like, I think that was when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, or might have been later, actually.
E3 2015 was when that's another one of my favorite moments that I ever had was E3 2015 was the PlayStation press conference. I think 2013 was the PlayStation Smackdown on the Xbox One stuff. But 2014, no, sorry, let me start over. 2015 E3, PlayStation's press conference. I remember it was my first E3 with Game Informer, and I was sitting in the room, and we used to just get like a room off on one of the side rooms of E3s or the LA Convention Center, so we
Right.
could cover all the press conferences together. Now we all do it over Slack, so it's like not a big deal. But I remember we were sitting there, and at the time, like the two most like I would say like the three most fan requested games that were just never going to happen were Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shenmue 3, and Half-Life 3. And they finally announced Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I looked over, and they had done like another like highly anticipated announcement. I think it was like The Last Guardian was
Last
also at
Guardian,
that press
yeah.
conference, so that was also like a long awaited thing. And as soon as Final Fantasy VII Remake got on the screen, I go, "What's next? Shenmue 3?" And literally the next announcement was Shenmue 3. And I remember our news editor, Mike Futter, at the time, he looked at me like I was like a medium, like I was like a psychic who could like just see the future. And yeah,
He saw your
the look
aura.
on his face. The look on his face was just one of like pure shock after that was exactly what happened.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking of? 2013 was two other like big projects where they did the double whammy of Final Fantasy Versus 13. That was when they christened it as Final Fantasy 15 after
Right.
that game had been in limbo for like ever at that point. And then right after that, they were like, oh, by the way, Kingdom Hearts 3, we're finally doing that.
Yeah.
And I just remember just like almost falling out of my chair on top of everything else that was going on.
What was the year that they were Xbox was like, and here's Project Milo, and it was like the weird kid with the
2010.
Kinect.
2010 was the
that long
famous
ago?
Kinect showcase with like the, what was
You
it?
could see the bottom of your feet.
Yep, that. Yeah, God, Milo. What a.
Never forget Milo.
I mean, honestly, Milo brings up my next point. Like, one thing I do miss about modern showcases that, is going to die with E3 was I really did love, like, cringe, dumb stuff happening on stage. Like, I'm a huge fan of things that are so bad it's good. I like watching dumb movies. And E3 has provided so many delightful moments like that, where there was the Milo stuff or Konami's famously bizarre 2010 press conference, which if you've never seen it, I recommend watching. Like, there's a YouTube supercut of, because that whole conference is just like a fever dream, or Mr. Caffeine at the 2014 Ubisoft show.
Peggle 2.
Oh my god, yes.
The infamous Peggle 2 announcement.
Yeah,
Which I
like-
love, by the way. I unironically love
Oh,
the Peggle 2
absolutely.
announcement. Just so much joy. And that was kind of almost how I was feeling as well, because I loved the first Peggle so much.
yeah, Charles, you alluded to earlier the Nintendo, like the Wii Music concert with the rapping
Yeah.
drums. Like, everything is so like highly produced, and just like there's just no room for that now with modern showcases, which I understand and it's fine. But there is that like, there's that distinct lack of just awkward charm that I guess maybe the Game Awards are kind of the only place you might get that now because of its live nature. But by and large, it's kind of was like one of the, like, at least for me, one of the weird highlights every E3 of like who's gonna do something really dumb that I'm gonna laugh at this year.
What was the Sony 2006 press conference? Was that Ridge Racer?
Oh. Yeah, what was it? $599 US.
Oh, boy.
Attack this enemy crab weak point for massive damage, like that disaster of a PlayStation 3 showcase.
Look, I just found a July 21st, 2023 article on Kotaku saying that you can now watch the 2006 Sony E3 press conference in HD on YouTube.
Oh my god, in HD! Wow, okay.
Yes.
You could
1080p,
see.
it says.
I think that's part
Finally.
of the Danny O'Dwyer like revival project that he's had going, of finding all those old GameSpot tapes and
Oh,
re-uploading
right.
them on YouTube.
That's
Right.
incredible.
Now you can see every pore on Kaz Hirai's face as he's sweating at why no one is reacting to his Ridge Racer news. It's wow. I mean, that reminds me of when we did Game and Far Share a couple of years ago. One of our jokes was they were going to release the E3 like master collection, basically, and it would just be this bundle of every E3 and all of the worst moments just up-res to like 4K or something like that.
I'd buy that. I would get the limited edition, collector's edition of that. That would be incredible.
Absolutely. So yeah, rest in peace, E3. It sucks. I feel bad for everyone that wanted to go that didn't get to go. I know Wesley was lamenting it on Twitter. I feel like being mean and reminding him, like, well, technically, we all attended the 2021 version that was was so you have technically been to one E3. I'm just saying.
We all made those avatars. Those little weird avatars.
We all
Forgot about those.
Yeah, so I guess I've technically been to 5 E3s if we want to count it. But yeah, it sucks. It's gonna be, who knows, maybe 10 years or so down the line, it comes back in some weird nostalgia thing or something. But it makes sense for it to go, but I'm gonna miss it regardless. So. Speaking of live events, Brian, you and Jesse attended the Game Awards last week live. We did a full sort of a discussion and review of the show on last week's episode, but I would like to know just real quick what your experience was being there live and maybe just talk about what it's like being there that people that have only watched it might not realize about the show.
Oh boy. What you might not realize about the show. It's really long and difficult to sit there for 3 hours straight without getting up to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Because if you also get up to go to the bathroom, they don't let you in until like the next commercial break. So you have to like just wait outside.
What? Why?
Yeah, they don't, because they don't want you like walking in front of like a performance or something like that, I guess. But like, yeah, like I've been to 2 Game Awards and I've been able to sit through both of them without having to get up to go to the bathroom. The people sitting next to me were not as lucky in that regard, because they got up and then it's like, wow, they've been gone for like 30 minutes, and it's because they hadn't gotten to the next commercial break where like, they're just playing like the trailers that are purely paid for. And in those moments they're like, oh, we don't care if somebody like walks in front of you during that, because
Right.
when somebody tries to get into their seat, if they're in the middle, half of the row has to stand up to let them through. So they probably don't want people like walking out as Timothée Chalamet is presenting Game of the Year.
Yeah, I hope they put a TV out there so that if you're stuck out there, you can at least see what's happening in case something big's happening while you're gone.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't think there was anything out there.
Yeah, maybe they play the audio in the lobby, but that's, I think, about it. I don't remember seeing any TVs. But yeah, I mean, it's nice because like I got to the Game Awards itself. It's a great spectacle, right? Like they have amazing music and everything. Like the live performances were great this year, even if like they weren't like the biggest names performing. Like, in the past they've had like Sting open the show, which, we didn't have Sting level of musical performances in terms of like name recognition, but I think that the performances themselves were amazing. Like that band that was performing, was it Senua's Sacrifice or whatever like that, or Senua's Saga?
Hylum was the name of the band. They're like a Norwegian like metal band or something. They're wild.
That was sick. Yeah, that was a cool thing to see in person. I don't know how well that translated. That was like the one with like the torches and the flames and everything shooting up. Seeing the Alan Wake musical thing was really cool. That was a highlight this year.
Yeah.
Even though I have not gotten to that part in the game, so spoilers, I guess. And then the orchestra is phenomenal. Every single year the orchestra is incredible, even though the role of the flute guy is diminished when you're live and that you're not like watching.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, you don't really get like the full flute guy experience when you're there live.
He was standing up, going on that giant like weapon of a flute he was using,
which is apparently like a $50,000 instrument. I learned. I think Jeff posted online how expensive that like giant standing bassoon is.
He said he posted like what the name of it was, because like I was like, what does that sound like by itself?
That looks like a barred weapon in an RPG.
I think was it a contrabass flute?
It is.
Sure
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
So yeah, and then like those were the highlights. The low lights were obviously like, who are we kidding here? Like we have had an amazing year for video game releases, but it's so disingenuous to have him get up there, smile, talking about how amazing this year has been for games, and then like within like 48 hours of it's almost like how we just can't have a single news cycle without a studio closing or layoffs. And the fact that was completely swept under the rug was just extremely disappointing. We have the biggest platform in the games industry, and we're talking about the year, we're reflecting on the year, and I understand that it's a celebratory thing and we want to celebrate the amazing games that came out, which is great. All it would have taken was some inoffensive, toothless statement saying something like, hey, look, the industry has had a rough year. Like, a lot of the games nominated, some of the people who worked on these games that we're celebrating no longer have their jobs. and something just along the lines, not even calling out anybody, because I know he has to, be political with the way he says stuff because he's trying to have partnerships with all these companies.
Plus, to be fair, it would take another half hour to call out every person that's had layoffs.
Exactly. But if he was just saying, like, I would challenge the people in this room and the people watching at home who have the power to do so to find us a better way forward so we can keep the people who helped make these amazing games in this industry. He just says something like that. That's all it would have taken to just have some acknowledgement of the fact that we've had an unprecedented number of layoffs in the video game industry. And he didn't do that. And honestly, I was extremely disappointed by that. And meanwhile, having him like joke and smile through it. And I understand trying to keep it a lighter tone, but just kicking off the show at the start with something like what I said would have been all it would have taken to then feel okay about like the painted on smile that he had throughout the rest of the show, talking about how amazing 2023 has been for games, because from many perspectives, it hasn't been great. And I know from the player perspective, most of the people watching would agree with him that it's been a great year for games, but for many people, it hasn't been. And to see that not acknowledged in any way at all was really disappointing.
Yeah. And just to, go off that for a second, like it is supposed to be this celebratory event, right? But when you have, and I'm sure y'all have talked about this already, but when you have sort of like super short acceptance speeches and you're constantly not celebrating the people who made the games, but instead are like, let's look at games that are 2, 3, 4 years away, is really great because like a lot of people get really excited for those and it gets viewership numbers and does all these things. But like, don't pretend that it's a celebration of the past year when you're giving the people who made the games that we're here for in the first place no time to even no acknowledgement. Half of the categories don't even get to go up on stage. There's a lot of things that need to be worked out with the Game Awards, and I think that being there live kind of underscored that even more, because you lose a lot of the like sort of quick camera cuts and the way that they like technically direct the Game Awards, that maybe you don't think about that as much. But when you're sitting there and you're like waiting for people to go up on stage and you're watching people give speeches and being kind of rushed off the stage, and you can see the big teleprompter saying please wrap it up in person, like it kind of changes your sort of understanding of how award shows goes. And it's a show to run. I get that there's, you got to stay on schedule, but I think that schedule needs some tweaking on like what the priority of the actual show should be.
Yeah.
And on your point, I was lucky enough that I was close to the front and they were trying to get people out of the theater as fast as possible. And so they had me go through like it was more or less a VIP exit, because that's like where all the front row people were leaving. So like, I was leaving with people from like Remedy and Larian as they were like carrying off like their collection of awards that they had.
Yeah, we bumped into each other outside of the show right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you shoulder checked each other?
We did.
Yeah. Which tackled the other.
So, but like I got to run into the two people that I was hanging out with in Osaka last year for our Street Fighter 6 cover story, the director and the producer of Street Fighter 6. And I was talking to them and it was just kind of like, it's great to see you guys, but like you didn't even get to go up on stage. Like best fighting game was not a stage thing. So it's like they came all the way from Osaka to Los Angeles for the Game Awards. And I'm sure they're thrilled that they won the award, but they just got to accept it from their seats.
Yeah, you just get to see a graphic with your game.
Like literally like on the producer's Instagram story, it was just like a picture of the screen of like Street Fighter 6 highlighted on like the list of nominees. And it's like, oh, that's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Swen was sitting there the whole time in that giant suit of armor, and Baldur's Gate 3 won best game of the year. So I was like, it's not best game, but best RPG. And I was like, oh, this is Swen's time to go up. RPG wasn't one. So I'm sitting there like, oh man, I really hope Baldur's Gate 3 wins game of the year so Swen can go up there in this suit of armor and like be able to like show people that this bit that he's been doing.
It's like, you just mentioned how uncomfortable it is to sit there for 3 hours. How do you think it felt 3 hours in a suit of armor sitting there? Like, I can't imagine how that must have felt.
Yeah, I mean that it was loud as well. Like I again, we exited alongside him and he was over there in the corner like celebrating with his team. You could hear every once in a while the metal clanking up against stuff.
Oh, I would be every time I would stretch, I would be so self-conscious. You just hear clink, 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 and you're like, I'm sorry, I'm just a little tight here. Just kind of.
Yeah, were there metal detectors?
They
Like,
were.
Yeah.
I
okay.
have a feeling he had a pass,
So he had
or
to-
maybe he had to
to
take it
doff
off
his
to be
armor.
inspected.
You had to
Go
get the full
through.
TSA pat down before
Yeah.
he went in.
Yeah, you put it in like the little like cup that they make you put your phone and keys in. You just put his armor on top of it and slides it over.
And then he had to have them put it back on like he's a knight.
It was very funny to see him walk up there and Timothy Chalamet just standing off to the side while this guy in a suit of armor does his 30-second acceptance speech.
Yeah, Mr.
Y'all
Light.
think Timothy Chalamet knows what Baldur's Gate 3 is? Because I feel like
mean,
I feel like he's got no idea.
He used to be a YouTuber about like video games.
They announced him as what? Mod
Modded
controller?
Modded controller 360.
Yeah, they didn't even
I
say
didn't
his
know what
name.
that was until I looked it up later, and because like he's like, yeah, Timothy Chalamet, the streamer formerly known as Modded Controller 360 or whatever, and I was like, what is that about? Then I looked it up later, and I'm like, oh, I guess that was his YouTube channel that he has since deleted.
I was gonna say, is that still up? You can't watch him?
I'm sure someone's got it archived.
Oh, it's got to be
somewhere.
archived, yeah.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't want to come across as way too negative. I am disappointed by what I brought up, but I also think that the Game Awards has gotten progressively better. I mean, I still remember the Schick Quattro Man or whatever it was,
Chick
like
Hydrobot.
the Hydrobot. And I remember like the really awful one where it was like the video game awards where it was like him and Joel McHale like just
we
sitting on a
we don't
couch.
speak of the VGX here.
So like
Brian.
they have come a long way. Like Jeff Keighley has done a fantastic job making it better and better. Like it's definitely an upward trajectory, but I think that it's along the lines of like when you have a favorite video game, you immediately like are able to be like, okay, well they could do this better. They could do this better. So it is like nitpicking in a sense, but also I do think that was a pretty bit. There are the thing that you brought up, Jesse, about the short acceptance speeches, and the thing that I brought up about just not acknowledging one of the biggest looming threats to the industry today. I think those were egregious miscalculations on Jeff's part. However, I think overall the show is very good, and it's a great thing to attend live as well. Like I was emotional like the first hour and a half of the show. Like a reveal would come up for a game I didn't even care about, but because I was like kind of swept up in the emotion, I would be like fighting back tears. I'm like, why am I crying about this weird game that I've never even heard of?
It's also fun to just like get dressed up and
Oh,
like see
100%.
all your peers also dressed up, because like sometimes we go to events and we're in like you know, just like whatever the most comfortable thing is to wear because we're going to be on our feet all day. But there's something nice about seeing everyone just dressed up and sort of hanging out, and it's nice. Overall,
nice.
it's like just a nice thing to see.
A nice thing is also that like the theater opens out directly into LA Live, and then everybody just goes to basically the same two bars. And you know, the JW Marriott, which is where everybody ended up at, was just flooded. Like literally, maybe 1,000 people at the bar. It was crazy. Like at least 400 people were probably at that bar at any given time. Like from the moment the shows ended all the way up to like probably midnight. It was just like
and
at
it
least
spills
400
out.
people.
So it's like the bar and then the back door into like the LA Live area, and there's just people like all over. So no matter where you're walking, you're bound to run into somebody you know. And it's just nice, those unexpected encounters where you're like, oh, you're here. I didn't even know you were here. Blah, blah, blah. It's nice.
I tried to do a lap around the JW Marriott bar, and it took me 3 hours because I kept running into people like every 3 steps. It was unbelievable.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Popular.
And he
there
was
were enough people there that-
literally running into people.
Yeah, like Todd Howard, unfortunately. No,
Yeah.
not unfortunately. I love Todd Howard. I just did not mean to body check him. If you're watching this, Todd, I apologize.
Yeah, also tighten up.
It's tense up.
But that's awesome. Like Game Awards, I've never been. It's it's on my list of like gaming events that I've not had a chance to go to yet. Hopefully one day I'll find myself there too. Maybe in a suit of armor. We'll see. That'll be my dress up. But
It
yeah.
would be very funny if that
With a
became the new
tie.
trend of everybody wearing suits of armor next year.
Oh man, then the body checks are going to be even more intense.
Oh my god.
Then you gotta wear your armor to protect yourself from other armored people.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just going to be an armor escalation where someone's just going to be in an Iron Man suit eventually.
I mean, literally the next like movie is called Armor Wars, right?
True.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Don Cheadle led Marvel movie.
Well, you know, when the Elden Ring DLC comes out and that's up for a Game Award, all the From Software people will come in armored core mech suits.
Yeah.
That'll be their contribution. But all right, awesome. Brian, I know you got to get out of here pretty soon, but before you leave us forever, I would love to know about Tekken 8 because you've played quite a bit of it, mainly the story mode, it sounds like.
Well, I've played 3 separate occasions. Once was at an event at Bandai Namco back in March. Once was at PAX West, and then once was this past week, where I was out in LA for the Game Awards, and they're like, "Hey, we're having this event for Tekken 8. We'd love to have you swing by." So I did that, and I got to talk to Katsuhiro Harada, who is the director, and Michael Murray, the producer, and I got to play through the first 3 chapters of the story mode, and then also check out some of the other modes as well. But yeah, the story was kind of the main attraction for me, and I love single player fighting game stories. I think Mortal Kombat's probably the prime example in terms of like ever since the reboot in 2011, it's really been the shining star for fighting game single player. But Street Fighter's been trying to do some stuff with it lately, and Tekken has also, I think, been one of the industry leaders in terms of fighting game story modes, and they're really going for it with this Tekken 8 story mode. Within like the first like 2 minutes, you have this scene where Jin is riding through like it looks like maybe New York, like the crowded city streets, and he's like chasing Kazuya, who is now like the big bad in the story, and he rides his motorcycle up the side of a skyscraper and then grabs it with his bare hands and throws it at Kazuya's helicopter.
He throws his bike or the skyscraper?
He throws the motorcycle at Kazuya's helicopter, lands on his feet, and like watches as Kazuya's helicopter crashes in like a fireball. And then Kazuya just emerges like unscathed, like, all right, let's fight. And that's like how it starts. And then you're doing like these cinematic fights, and they're really like, it's kind of like part like action movie style Tekken, where it's like in between rounds, instead of having like just saying like round 2 fight, it's saying like there's like a little cutscene in between each round, which is fun, and sometimes they're even like interactive cutscenes. But there was after the finale of that, you turn into Devil Jin, and he grabs Kazuya, flies him up into the air, like holding onto his face, and then slams him through the roof of a skyscraper all the way to the ground, and the skyscraper collapses around them. And then, of course, he's fine as well. Like, he's barely has a scratch on him. And it's just like...
It's Dragon Ball Z now.
It really... It's the most, like, anime stuff you've ever seen in your life. And I am so excited for how over the top they are going. And, also, I got to play some of the new characters. There's Reina, Azucena, and Victor. And Victor might be my new main. He is fantastic. He's this, like, suave French dude who's like he's got like gray hair, gray beard, and he's in a suit, and he has like a gun. He's like, I guess he's like a secret agent style character, but he also has a sword, which is really awesome. And he has like, he's really fast and like agile, and he has some great moves. And I was pulling off some really fun combos with him. The other 2 new characters, Reina and Azucena, were also really fun. I think Reina is really awesome in the story mode from what I've seen. She's kind of got like this like cheery personality, like very bubbly, but then like there's obviously something going on with her about like in terms of like there's something insidious that she's hiding, it looks like. So like I'm excited to see where they go with that. And then then when you're playing with her in versus, it's very obvious that there's something insidious going on with her, because like they're not trying to hide it in versus mode. And then with Azucena, she is super fun. She's like always dancing, and she's like an MMA fighter, so like she has some really cool like grappling style move sets and like counters and everything. And she's her dad's like a coffee maker, so she's always talking about coffee and all of her moves. But yeah, there's the return of Tekken Ball, which is the first time since I think Tag Tournament 2 on Wii U, where like it's just basically like Tekken's version of volleyball or meets dodgeball. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. There's also a secondary arcade quest mode, which is like a secondary story mode where you create like a little like almost looks like an Xbox avatar, where it's like
it really does.
kind of like a weird like little guy that you're creating, and you can customize them fully. I made the most heinous looking character I could.
Yeah. Could you see the bottom of their shoe?
I'm sure you could, but I was not looking out for that. But basically the story mode of this, the production values are nowhere near the production values of like the normal story mode. Though that's supposed to be like an in-universe thing. This is actually supposed to take place as you like. It's basically the way I was talking to Justin Wong leaving the event, and
Wait, what?
described it perfectly as it's basically like Pokemon within the Tekken universe, where you're not catching Pokemon, but you are going from arcade to arcade trying to win tournaments, and basically that's like your gym badges. And I'm like, that's really good. I'm gonna steal that with attribution.
Okay.
So yeah, like the Tekken arcade quest seems like it's going to be a really fun mode. Like just like, you know, you're ranking up characters, so you're trying to like increase the rank of your characters as you play. And yeah, it's just I'm really excited for this. It seems like a complete package. The fighting mechanics feel as good as ever. I can't wait to like play through the story mode. I'm kind of thinking of like maybe I should go back and finally finish the Tekken 7 story mode beforehand, because like it seems like the events are very, very interconnected. But I also want to like replay like Final Fantasy 7 Remake before Rebirth comes out. I want to finish Alan Wake and Baldur's Gate. So really, like, I'm just saying this. It's not actually going to happen. Like, if we're being honest here, but I would love to go and finally like finish Tekken 7 story mode, because Tekken 8 story mode is so exciting to me.
Yeah, good luck with that, because I remember the final fight of Tekken 7 story mode is
It's brutal.
it's not easy. So best of luck if you do go back to that. I'm excited because I'm a huge Tekken fan, and Tekken 7 was kind of the first time they really went for like the, I guess, cinematic story mode, and I thought it was a pretty good first stab, all things considered. And just hearing how much they've escalated the absurdity, which says a lot for Tekken, because it's always been a ridiculous series. Like, I've always thought Tekken had the best sort of like ending cutscenes of any fighting game, like just like the, you know, the individual fighters like sort of story scenes when you beat the arcade with them. I still like looking them up every now and then, so this always feels like the natural progression of that. And yeah, just everything you sound or have described sounds incredible. And I do have to ask though, how many volcanoes did you see in your time with it?
Oh man, did I see any volcanoes? That's a good question. I don't know if I saw any volcanoes, but I was more focusing on the characters and everything. But maybe there's one or two that I
There has to be, right?
There has to be.
Yeah, like somebody. That's the kind of like who's getting thrown into a volcano this year.
It's a staple. Is it Tekken if there's no volcano?
Maybe who's the new character, Reina, that you think is hiding something? Maybe the secret is that she's actually a volcano.
It could be.
You never know.
Yeah, like she sheds her skin and is like, ah, and then that's where the final fight takes place. Yeah.
You never
how
know who a
volcanoes are.
volcano is.
Oh, my favorite thing ever was like when they announced, was it Jin that came to Smash Brothers? And
Kazuya.
It was Kazuya. Okay, yeah. And they was just dropping people off into the volcano, and then like he dropped Kirby, and Kirby just flew away in the background.
You notice how Kirby, he survived, what was it, Brawl, when everybody died? And he's the only...
That was Ultimate.
That was Ultimate? Okay. He survived that, and he's the only one to survive Tekken Volcano for like, what can kill Kirby, basically? Like,
nothing. Kirby immortal.
When Kazuya drops Min Min or whatever, and like the spring leg just kind of like slinks down afterwards. That little animation gets me every time.
My favorite moment, I mean, I know we're getting way off topic here, but like my favorite moment in the Smash reveal trailers was when Sephiroth just straight up murdered Mario.
Yeah.
Like, but then they revealed that he just put the sword through his like overall instead. But like for a second, they let you believe that he just like literally impaled Mario through the chest.
Those cowards. They should have just ended with that shot. Just leave it up to our imaginations. Like, Mario's dead.
Yeah, Sephiroth gets added to the game. Mario's removed.
Super Sephiroth Bros Wonder.
I want to hear Sephiroth say "Wowie Zowie" now.
Oh, I want Ellis. That somebody look up Google. Safe search off elephant Sephiroth.
Oh no! Safe search on.
All right, Brian. Well, thank you so much for your Tekken update. Your preview is now live on the site, so everybody be sure to check that out. And yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some Apollo Justice, some Fortnite, and then get into some housekeeping and listener questions. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We are down to the three musketeers, you could say. Charles, can you name any of the three musketeers as individuals?
There's the one that in Stranger Things he names D'Artagnan.
Sure, I'll go with that.
I'm looking it up.
I was going to say Chris O'Donnell.
I'm
Yep.
gonna be real. I was gonna say Zorro, and I don't think that's part of the Three Musketeers. I think that's a different thing.
He's like an honorary, extended member. He's like part of Three Musketeers Mexico.
I feel like he would be the fourth Musketeer
Yeah.
if they had a fourth one, right?
Oh, that's like the ultimate crossover, right? Three Musketeers meet Zorro.
It's like your only two options are Zorro and the character from The Princess Bride. Like those are your only two other options.
Oh,
Wesley.
Montoya, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your thing. Oh, I was thinking the other one.
Yeah.
I did look up
Wesley
the
LeBlanc.
names.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wesley LeBlanc.
The fifth Musketeer.
Went to Wikipedia, Three Musketeers, scroll down to characters, and I am devastated to report there are 4 names here under the Musketeers section specifically. There's Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and D'Artagnan. So I don't know if D'Artagnan is a brave and clever man seeking to become a musketeer. So it must be like
He's like
got
an
the 3
honorary
musketeers.
musketeer.
He's the fourth.
So
Musketeer.
I was actually wrong. I named a character from the Three Musketeers, but I named an aspiring musketeer.
So is he like the White Ranger of the Three Musketeers? And that he came later, but he's like he's kind of better than them though, even if he's not. I don't know.
I don't know if he's better than.
Does he have a shield? That's like the real, he's wearing like a
When
chest
can we
armor.
expect the Charles apology video for naming the wrong Musketeer?
For naming the wrong. I mean, blame Stranger Things. Blame Gaten Matarazzo and his little baby Demogorgon slug. That's my apology. I'm just blaming a different
My
person.
apology is that it's someone else's fault.
Yeah.
And now you are a true YouTuber. Anyways, you know what game could probably use the Three Musketeers is
What?
Fortnite. Because they have basically everybody else, so it's probably only a matter of time before the Three Musketeers appear in some form. Especially in this new version of Fortnite, which I don't know what we call this now. I've talked before about how the Fortnite seasons confuse me in terms of the naming convention of like, this is season 5, chapter 3, verse 8. I don't know what is this officially called now?
58/2 Dream Drop Distance. Yeah.
Right. Yes, featuring Goku.
Featuring Goku.
Yeah.
Chapter 5, Season 1, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Does it have a name? Like a subtitle at all? Or
Is it Underground?
Yeah.
okay. And from my understanding, and I fully admit I'm probably the least like versed on Fortnite. Like I do like Fortnite, but I don't play it too often. But like, have they sort of blew everything up again, right? And like added a bunch of stuff. Like, is this like the biggest sort of like reinvention of Fortnite in a long time?
So the way Fortnite kind of operates is like it'll do back when it first kind of did this big sort of like overhaul. It was like they did like 10 seasons, and then they were like, that was, I don't know if y'all remember when they did sort of like the black hole and Fortnite went down for like 48 hours or
Everyone
whatever,
lost their
and
minds for a
everyone lost
weekend.
their mind. And then they came back and they were like, new island. We kind of updated a lot of the graphics and some of the mechanics. So it seems like they saved those like big overhauls for when they do a new chapter. So like your seasons are every 3 or 4 months, and then after X amount of seasons, I don't know if they're still on a schedule for how many seasons are in a chapter anymore. I don't know if it is 10 or if they switch that up every now and then.
For the last 2 years.
Okay.
For a year.
And then when the chapter comes through, that's when it's like, here's sort of your big, I think the last chapter, 2 chapters ago, was like sort of the switch to Unreal 5 and sort of updating a lot of the lighting and stuff. And then they add like sliding and mantling and all this stuff. So this is like the next. So chapter 5 is sort of the next chapter of Fortnite, where they've now added a bunch of new stuff and modes, and they redo the whole map. It's like the most significant map change you get usually over the course of time, because the seasons it'll alter slightly, but your chapters are when you get the sort of big changes.
So what is the big things in terms of takeaways I've seen is the addition of like Rocket League racing, to it, or I think was it called Rocket Racing?
Rocket Racing.
And like we actually have a new gameplay today episode that you Jesse did with Alex, sort of showing that off that folks can go watch on the Game Informer YouTube channel right now. Talk to me about that, because it's sort of like it's such a weird thing, because obviously it's a completely different game, and it seems like Fortnite is expanding to almost more of a platform for multiple kinds of experiences besides just like, I guess what you would expect from like Fortnite.
Fortnite's the metaverse now.
Yeah.
Did it.
They did it.
They finally did it.
Take that, Zuckerberg. Someone figured it out.
Yeah, Team Sweeney. But Rocket Racing is really interesting because like a couple years ago, Epic picked up a bunch of developers, right? They picked up Harmonix, they picked up Psyonix, they picked up Bandcamp, which I don't really know what the purpose of that was, but they picked up
to fire a bunch of people, apparently.
Yeah, basically to fire a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see like what the purpose of picking those studios up were, and now we're seeing Psyonix with this pretty fully fleshed out racing game. Like, yeah, there's plenty of room for improvement, but it is like it's got its own systems. The driving feels way better than the Fortnite driving, which is kind of what I was worried about. I was worried it was going to feel kind of splashy and like not as arcadey as I was hoping it would, but it feels great to play. The tracks, especially as you start to get into some of the harder tracks and the higher ranks, are like really interesting. There's a lot of obstacles and like light platforming to do while you're driving. There's all these unique systems tied around the boost, and like some of them from other games like Mario Kart and stuff like that. But it just really feels like this unique thing that has its own identity. And the really cool thing that they're doing is there are like cars you can get in the regular Fortnite Battle Pass that you can get for Rocket Racing, but also for Rocket League. So there's a lot of like tie-in between the two games. So like you can use some of the Rocket League cars in Rocket Racing, and when you unlock Rocket Racing cars, you can use them in Rocket League. And so if you are somebody who plays both of those games, like there is like a good value there for you as a player. And yeah, it's just like really interesting to see them make a completely different thing like within the Fortnite editor, basically.
Yeah. Is it the because I haven't played Rocket League in a long time, but like did they change anything about the physics? Like, do the cars just feel like Rocket League cars, but you're just racing them down a track, or have they tweaked that at all?
I don't think they feel as, because like Rocket League is like very freeform.
Right.
Like you have a lot of control. Like Rocket Racing definitely is a little stiffer, and I don't mean that in like a negative way. I think it's designed to be a racing game and not like a soccer game. So your cars have a little more like weight to them, and they feel a little like more like they're meant to drift around a turn. And when they go in the air, you can still do like flips and stuff, like air dodges, but it's not like you're not flying upside down, bouncing a ball on top of the car, and then like doing a 360 and like no scoping a soccer ball into a goal. Like it definitely has its like racing. It's like racing first, so the cars do feel a little weightier in that respect.
Okay, Charles, have you had a chance to mess around with it yet?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it, and I liked it, and it it was weird. Like, I think it's let me finish a sentence here. From someone like from your perspective, Marcus, that is like not super paying attention to Fortnite outside of like work stuff.
Right.
I feel like I was really into Fortnite, and then I just kind of fell off for whatever reason. And then being like, oh, Rocket Racing is some new mode. And I knew that they had gone into Unreal Engine 5 and that they were, there was like new custom stuff you could do. And then I had heard Lego Fortnite was coming for a while, but didn't know what that was. And so I think to come at it from outside of like, oh, this is just going to be like a fun new custom mode, and then actually see it, and I'm like, oh, this is like a game. This is just another game in the Fortnite launcher. There's 3 games essentially that they added to Fortnite. So I booted it up, and I was not expecting it to feel as good as it did and as different as it did from what you would expect from Fortnite. And I didn't play that much of it, but I'm also not very like good at racing games, so I don't think I'll spend that much time with it. But it also felt distinct in a good way, which I think is a thing that's important for something like a racing game. Of you've got the air dodge mechanic, and you kind of will stick yourself to like different surfaces, so there'll be kind of like sections where you're dodging to the left to be on the wall on this side, and you dodge to the right to be on the wall on the other side. just that kind of platforming stuff. And yeah, I can see someone that's into racing just getting really into it, and just some kid being like, I'm gonna download Fortnite because I really like the cars in Rocket Racing.
Yeah.
And just that's wild. I don't know.
I mean,
And I hope that the community builds tracks
Mm.
like the way that like Trackmania kind of lives and dies by its community. I really hope
Yeah.
that Rocket Racing takes off with just like a bunch of community made tracks or like challenges or stuff, and Epic really embraces that and like uses that to propel Rocket Racing forward.
yeah, it's cool to see like Psyonix continue to find like just all these weird ways to extend not only Rocket League's life cycle, but finding like new ways to sort of like basically leverage it, you know, and now with like putting it into just a different, bigger game is like super cool. And in the same way that like the other big thing with this Fortnite chapter is the Rock Band Festival. Like I think that's the name of it.
Fortnite Festivals.
Oh, it's Fortnite Festival, but Rock Band is part of it. Where, and again, feel free to jump in because I feel like I only kind of understand what this is. But like,
It's like it is Rock Band is what the
right
game is.
It's like you're streaming Rock Band.
Yes, it's like
Sorta.
a pretty basic. So the way it works is it's also free, and there's kind of a rotating selection of songs. I don't know how often they swap out. I don't know if it's daily or weekly or what. But you just go on. You can do 4 players. You can be Luke Skywalker on the guitar with Peter Griffin on the drums or whatever.
Finally,
you can dab before the music starts, and then you go in. It's not interesting in the way that Rocket Racing is, though, is what I would say. Is like Rocket Racing feels like it can be its own thing. It feels very distinct. Fortnite Festival feels very much like, I don't know, we got all this music. People love putting songs in Fortnite or whatever. Let's put a new way to interact with them. But it's like, I don't know. It is what you expect as opposed to the other things.
so is
It's
there
a little bit
any?
of a bummer?
Oh, is there any rhythm music element? Like, are you playing like? Is there like note lanes or anything like that you're?
It is picture Guitar Hero. Yeah.
Okay.
It is that. It is the notes flying down.
Obviously not with plastic instruments, but you're doing the thing.
But they are adding plastic instruments.
Yeah, it's shocking to me that that wasn't sort of like the main priority for this thing. And so it's like you can, if you're playing on PC, at least I don't know about console, you can plug in like a Guitar Hero guitar or whatever that you normally would play like other rhythm games with.
Oh.
But you would just have to remap the buttons, but you can't use the strum. Like it doesn't have native instrument support, so you can kind of play on like a guitar or a drum kit if you like remap all your stuff. But there's no like native support for instruments yet. But they said they're prioritizing it for next year. So I've been playing on my PlayStation controller, and it's very jarring to be like left D-pad, right D-pad, square, circle, triangle, and trying to like play a rhythm game that looks like Guitar Hero. My brain thinks it's Guitar Hero, but I'm like trying to do inputs on a controller, and all the notes are the same color. Like they don't like Guitar Hero is known for it's like whatever it is, green, red, yellow, blue, orange. And you're like, oh, orange, that's the 5th fret. Like, I always know that. And this, they're all purple. All the notes are purple and the same shape.
So what is
And
that?
it drives me up a wall.
Yeah, I was like, how does it even work? I was like, as I still have my Guitar Hero 3 guitar, so that's kind of exciting. Like, oh, I guess I could potentially use this for this if I wanted to. But if they're all the same notes or the same colors, it's like, well, it feels like it throws off my like rock band Guitar Hero instincts a bit. Jesse, you mentioned this being or feeling like this is somewhat of a bummer. This mode. Why is that?
So it's interesting because like I love Rock Band. I love Clone Hero. I play a lot of Clone Hero. That's like my thing. And when I heard that Harmonix was making this Fortnite Festival, I was like, oh cool, we can get Rock Band. And there is like an inherent like comedic value to having Peter Griffin on the drums and a weird candy cane man doing the dab next to Luke Skywalker, right? Like that is just like inherently funny.
Yeah.
But when you play the actual songs, like a lot of the charting doesn't feel great, and it just feels like it's underbaked in a lot of ways. I wish that it felt more fully fleshed out. And I think to add on to that is like you can buy songs for $5 a pop in the store. And that feels like a little pricey for a song for Fortnite Festival. Yeah. And they're also selling an additional battle pass for Festival called like the Festival Pass. And it's almost double the cost of the normal Fortnite battle pass. And it gives you like 3 songs and like a weekend skin right now, which is cool if you're into that. But it's like, I feel like this mode needs more content and more variety and needs to feel distinct like Rocket Racing does. And instead of like adding that, they're just like charging additional money for it. And that's fine. Fortnite's free to play. Like they got to earn their bucks somewhere. I get that. But I feel like they launched this mode and they could have waited till they had native instrument support, until they maybe made some tweaks to the way that the game feels and the colored notes and all these other things, to the point where like it just doesn't feel like a full product in the way that I feel like Rocket Racing and Lego Fortnite do. And that's kind of a bummer, because that was the one I was looking forward to the most.
So weird. So like, can you not play a song unless you buy it? Or
So you have the rotating songs daily or whatever, and so you have a list of like, I think it's like 10 songs or 12 songs, and it's like, I think yesterday was like Vampire by Olivia Rodrigo and like Dirty Little Secret by the All American Rejects, some like original epic music like the OG Fortnite track and stuff like that. And then like I think when the shop refreshes, those songs also refresh.
Okay.
And you have like quests to do like dailies and stuff, so there's like a reason to hop into that mode and play it if you're trying to level up your battle pass. But it just like, I guess maybe I'm more bummed that like Harmonix is not just working on like another paid Rock Band or Guitar Hero, where like I just buy it and I get like 100 songs and I have my stuff, and then they'll release more music over time. It feels very limited in its scope.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a bummer.
It's like, it's nice on one hand to see Harmonix doing something and not being like suffering layoffs or being shut down by Epic. So it's like, oh, I guess this is better. Them making some content is better than them doing more or less, I don't know, sitting on their hands or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see what you're saying of like, this feels like this could be more than what it is right now. Because you mentioned, what you said, there's only like 10, 12 songs.
And that rotates. So I think the full set list is larger than that. But like at any given time, I think if you're playing on the free mode, you only have an option of 10 or 12 for that day. Okay. Unless you go into the shop and buy them for like $5 a pop or whatever.
Right.
Have they 500 V-Bucks per song.
Have they released a full set list? Like, is it good? Any good stuff in there?
I have not looked at it, but I played Thunder by Imagine Dragons yesterday, so I don't think it's good.
Just immediately disqualifies it. I'm wondering how much of those music rights, like, there's almost no chance, like, those music rights for the Beatles have long since like been buried, right? We're not going to see any of that carryover from Rock Band in there of like, yeah, Fortnite, come play. I don't know. You Never Give Me Your Money. Here you go.
I wouldn't be shocked if Beatles Rock Band was delisted at this point. Like, I don't even know if you could still buy that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know they did the big thing where they ended like online support for like a bunch of Rock Band and Guitar Hero games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, the game's more or less handicapped and by default. So yeah, I don't know, but okay, that's such a weird thing. Like when I was reading it, like even when I was reading like our story of it, I feel like I was still like tilting my head, like, so what is this exactly? Like I feel like I think I know, but I don't, which is why I'm glad you guys were here to set me straight. Yeah.
I think part of it is it's like Rocket Racing, before you understand that it's like a Rocket League thing, you can picture like a Fortnite racing game.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. This is just a completely different genre, as is Lego Fortnite.
Right.
Which I just
the other big
great
thing.
Transition if you want to talk about Lego Fortnite.
I mean, that's the coolest looking thing I've seen, whereas like I kind of want to fire it up just to run around in that. How's that been?
It's cool. It's wild. It's weird that it's I don't know. I really haven't played a ton of any of these. I just played enough to check it out. I don't know, Jesse, if you've spent more time with it, but I spent like maybe half an hour in Lego Fortnite. I mainly wanted to see which of my skins had Lego versions, because they're doing something like 1,000 existing Fortnite skins are getting Lego versions, and they're gonna add more over time and update them to make them better.
Wait, do the Dragon Ball characters have Lego versions?
I don't think so. So like a lot of my licensed skins,
that's all that mattered to me.
Who is?
My weird candy cane man.
Oh yeah.
Some weird Fortnite candy cane weirdo.
A lot of my licensed skins don't have Lego versions, but like I know they exist. Like Miles Morales doesn't have a Lego skin, but like there's Lego Marvel games. So like I don't know. They don't. There's some are easier to come across than others. I think. I don't know if like making a Lego Goku is gonna be a hard like licensing deal or however.
I don't know if I don't think there have ever been Lego Dragon Ball in general.
Yeah.
To my knowledge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I can play as Lego Luke Skywalker because Lego Star Wars games that's the whole thing. And yeah, it's just a survival game. It's completely different. It's like you mine trees and get sticks and you build buildings and it's all made out of Legos and it gets cold at night, so you got to build torches. You know how survival games
Is it the
work.
same really satisfying Lego building animation where you just all the pieces just do-do-do-do-do, like in like the Traveler Tales games, or
I don't
Not
think
as
so.
satisfying. It's more like you get a blueprint for like a house. I mean, you could freeform build too, but like you get like a blueprint for a house, and it'll be like, okay, take this part and put it here, and take this part and put it here, and then it'll kind of just like show up.
oh,
It's
okay.
not the Lego games where like yeah all the studs are like going into the piece and it's like building quickly in front of you. It's more of like a piece by piece thing. But
Gotcha.
the really fascinating thing about Lego Fortnite is that the map itself is not Lego. Like it's like a normal Fortnite map. So you'll chop down a normal looking tree and then it'll break into Lego wood and you'll collect
Oh.
Lego wood. It's like a really interesting sort of like art style juxtaposition and I really enjoy it. It's very fun to fight like Lego characters in like a very realistic world.
Yeah. Is it because there was a Lego 2K Drive earlier this year, which was like a driving game, but also like an open world game too. That was like entirely in like a Lego land, and I don't know if you guys played any of that. And I was wondering of like, is that like which was like the more interesting or more fun kind of Lego open world to explore this year between that and I guess this like
I haven't played 2K Drive.
okay,
I've heard good things, but I have not played it myself.
gotcha. So
Admittedly, I'm not a huge Lego person,
mhm.
but like a lot of my friends who I play Fortnite with are very into this mode right now. So I've actually been playing a lot with Alex Van Aken, Gone but Not Forgotten,
Yes.
and he's like survival sicko mode, so he's like all about this right now. And so I've been playing with him, and it's like I'm just here trying to build like a little log cabin, and he's over here like I'm gonna go fight the dragon in the castle over here and get us all the marble we need to build the biggest tower in the world. I'm like, all right, bud, you do what you got to do.
Okay. So
I'm gonna build this log cabin over here and put my bed in it and make a nice little house for myself.
exactly. Like I'm trying to get killed. I just want to have a nice little cabin, just hang out. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. You
Just
know.
vibe.
Alex,
Cottagecore.
Alex trying to get
Cottage.
y'all killed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I want to check it out. Is this a limited thing? Is this gonna go away relatively soon? Or?
These are like they put on Twitter the other day that like this is for the foreseeable future. All three of these modes are going to exist in Fortnite and get regular updates.
Okay.
They've like created their own independent Twitter accounts to update like when those features are coming and stuff. So it's like that's why Jesse said they've made the metaverse in Fortnite.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a joke, but it is like the idea of metaverse, as misconstrued as it often is, of like people think it can be whatever. It's just like a place you exist and can do lots of things. And by putting all of these new games in Fortnite, it is a thing of like, oh, I'm sick of Fortnite. Let's play Rocket Racing, which is also in Fortnite. Like their whole goal with like a free game is you want to get people to spend as much time as they can in it, ideally to get them to spend money on stuff. But like, it's also a thing of a few years ago, like when NFTs were still a thing, there was that thing running around where people were like, imagine if you get like the Spider-Man NFT, then you can have Spider-Man in any video game you want because you'll have the Spider-Man NFT.
Right.
And that's not how it works because
Licensing be damned.
every game developer would have to design that skin in their game. Like it couldn't just automatically transfer over because that's not how it works. But if all the games are Fortnite, like there's no reason why Spider-Man can't be in the driver's seat in Rocket Racing and in a game of Battle Royale and playing the guitar in Fortnite Festival.
Yeah. It's like a theme park now. It's like when you think of like Disney, of like you can hang out in Epcot and be like, I'm tired of Epcot. Let's go to Animal Kingdom. But at the same time, you're still in Disney. You know, it's like you can't escape it.
I think the thing that really like landed that point for me was when I loaded up Rocket Racing, and next to in like the bottom right, there's the ESRB rating for Rocket Racing, because like where else are you going to see that? So when you load up Rocket Racing, it's like, oh, here's our ESRB rating, like in the corner, like whatever it says, like cartoon violence or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess like they do kind of have to put a rating on this game, even though it's inside of another game. And like they want it to be this like own entity. They're going to follow the rules that every other video game company follows when they publish a game or develop a game.
Oh,
And so it's really weird to see that when you're just playing Fortnite and all of a sudden there's a bunch of different ESRB ratings for different things you're about to experience.
oh my! What if they add Alan Wake 2 to Fortnite? Like they just put the whole game in there because Epic published it, so
They
they're
could.
like, this is
Do
Alan
you-
Wake 2 land, so that has like a mature rating, and you could just go play Alan Wake 2 inside of
Herald of
Fortnite.
Darkness will come to Fortnite Festival at some point.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
Marcus, I was gonna say, I don't know if you know that they put the Alan Wake skin in Fortnite, and then they added an Alan Wake 1 recap world in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Where you could play that if you needed to catch up on the events of the first Alan Wake to play Alan Wake 2.
What is the
It's like-
is it just a video that plays, or is it?
No, it's
No,
an experience. You have like a
It's like a
flashlight. and
custom
stuff.
world
Yeah.
that they made because
Huh.
they've got those tools. I think that's another thing that's wild about these new modes is like there have been custom games in Fortnite where people will make their own rule sets, and it's like
Right.
something like that Alan Wake thing is not unfeasible, and this is like the next step past that, but kind of opens the door of like, why not put all of Alan Wake 2 in Fortnite? Who's gonna stop you?
I
Of
feel
all the meta games to do.
God, I bet one day they're gonna reveal that. Like, remember that Unreal 5 demo with the lady climbing and stuff?
Yeah.
They're gonna reveal that was actually like Fortnite, and you could just play that now. Like, it's just a new Fortnite thing that they said was a tech demo the whole time or
Facilities are
something.
endless at this point.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for our weekly Fortnite update. I will probably check it out, though now that you've said that it's going to be around for the foreseeable future, my urgency has lowered substantially. But I would like to check it out. Maybe if I do, I'll hit up one or both of you so that you can guide me through it and make me look better than I am at that game. Charles, you have spent a lot of time, or maybe a little bit of time, I don't know, you tell me, in court for some things. You've been in a courtroom, but not because you're in trouble, but you have been trying to help people get out of trouble because you've been playing the Apollo Justice. Is it just Apollo Justice Trilogy or the
I think it's Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy.
Ace Attorney Trilogy, which is the upcoming remaster of Apollo Justice, Phoenix Wright, Spirit of Justice, and Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies?
Yes, correct.
Okay. The two 3DS Phoenix Wright games.
So many question marks in your voice, but you got everything correct.
And the subtitles get my Phoenix Wright is that original trilogy, which I know intimately, and I love those three games. And then when you get beyond that, like I started playing Apollo Justice for the first time last year, but I haven't finished it yet. But I have like a DS copy of it that I'm very early in. So now I'm wondering, like, should I just finish this or should I just wait for this, like, remaster version to start over? So tell me, what should I do, Charles?
Well, I think so they're remastered, so the story is the same. The three games are Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney - Dual Destinies, and Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney - Spirit of Justice. So they put Phoenix's name in the last two games, and I had never played them before. I played Apollo Justice. There's like a iOS port. I played that a few years ago.
Yeah.
But Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice were the only games I hadn't played.
I actually bought them when the 3DS store was closing because Capcom like steeply discounted them. So I was like, oh, here's my chance. And then they announced that this was happening. So it was like,
I did too, Marcus. I have a memory of the day it was closing. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there were DLC trials for both of these games. If I don't get these now, I might never be able to get them. And it was like stressing me out. And I was like, I'll just do it. I just get them. And I kind of regret it now because I didn't need to. But I have it. I don't know. Maybe it's worth something. Anyways, yeah, if you're not familiar with Ace Attorney games, you play as a defense attorney and you defend someone who is always on trial for murder, I think. There might be one trial in like the Great Ace Attorney where it's like theft, I think. But
yeah,
the
they're
vast
rarely
majority
in
of the
there
time
for
it's
anything
murder.
minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first three games you play is Phoenix Wright, which is, I think, the character most people would know. And then the fourth Ace Attorney game is called Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Takes place 7 years after the third Phoenix Wright game. And you actually start out defending Phoenix Wright in a trial for murder as Apollo Justice.
Right. It's kind of like a
so,
younger upstart lawyer.
Yes.
Likes red.
Fresh out of law school. And yeah, he's a cool character. And then Dual Destinies introduces a new protagonist whose name I will not say for reasons that will become clear soon. But yeah, the games are better here than I think they have been in any past incarnation. They've got auto advance, which I really like. So you just press a button and then it just scrolls for you, which is good. Because I just like to watch it like it's a TV show sometimes and just like eat chips and play the game, but I don't want to press the B button over and over again. And you can still play that way. Like you'll select evidence when that part comes up. You can just do reading most of the time. There is also a story mode you can toggle on if you don't even want to do the evidence presenting and just literally experience the whole thing as like cutscenes, which is also cool. There's also like a history button. That's the thing with auto advance things usually is there's a button you can check to scroll back and see the text you missed, which is really useful for these games because sometimes you accidentally mash too fast. And you're like, oh my gosh, I totally missed what they said.
And then they're asking you like something really important. They're like, oh, I'm on my last chance before I fail the entire trial, and I did not catch that last piece of dialogue.
Yeah, and the later games have this like consult feature where if you like present the wrong piece of evidence twice, your like partner in the trial will be like, I think this is the statement that you should be looking
stupid.
at. But yeah, they're good games. There's also a museum mode in this game, so you can see like all concept art. You can play the super good soundtracks, and then there's an animation studio, which is like a cool thing. They basically have like whenever they talk, it's just the text, and then they'll do animations to whatever emotion they're feeling. So it'll be like, haha, I got it right, or like, oh no, I got it wrong. And everyone's got like their own quirky thing. There's a character in Dual Destinies and they make pottery, and when they're upset they just smash pottery on the ground. That's fun.
Normal reaction.
Who knows where they get the pottery, but so if you want to see those clips or like just the big reactions from some characters, you can see those for all the games. And yes, do you guys have any questions about Jesse? I know you played a snippet of it recently.
All I remember from playing it was that I dressed up one of the characters in like a tiger suit, like their suit was a different skin or whatever, and the people were like, "That's a good choice," and I said, "Hell yeah." I don't remember anything else that happened in that because I got like 20 minutes with it.
Yeah,
and I was already trying to play catch up with like, who is this character? Where are we? What are we doing? We're in trial now. What happened?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, a Phoenix Wright fan in general?
It is a series that I've always wanted to get into, but again, it's one of those things where it's like those games are pretty long, and I heard that trilogy that came out on Switch, like those, if you want to play that entire thing, it's an investment, and I just have not had the time to get into them. But it seems like my kind of stuff. I love sort of like logic puzzles and just sort of like trying to piece the evidence together in your head, like a good detective game, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, how do these things work together to get me through my goal?
Yeah.
So one day I will play this series.
I hope you do. Yeah, I've only, like I mentioned, I've beaten the original trilogy. I've not really played beyond that for just different reasons. I want to, but I adore those first three games. And on top of the investigation gameplay, like honestly, what keeps me coming back are the characters and the writing. Like it's so funny, and it's weird how they juxtapose like really funny writing and weird characters with like some pretty serious crimes of like people getting murdered, and you're looking at these crime scene photos of this person that got stabbed or something, and you're like, oh my god. But then someone says something really weird, or it's a weird guy that really likes coffee with a weird visor, and you're like, I guess this is just normal in this universe. These weirdos exist, but I think that's what adds to that series' charm, is that weird sort of like juxtaposition of themes a bit. So yeah, I guess I'm probably gonna I'm definitely gonna bite the bullet and just start Apollo Justice again on this version. That auto-scrolling thing especially is enticing, just to be able to sit back and just let it play out until I need to interact with it. So yeah, that's coming out next month. I forget the exact date.
It's coming out January 25th, which I've learned is a packed day for games.
Yes.
Today, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth comes out, according to Jesse.
Yeah.
Is that the Tekken? Is that Tekken Day?
I think Tekken's like around there. I think it's
Okay.
like either shortly after or right before.
Oh, January 26th.
Yeah.
It's really great. Yeah.
Big week in
Um,
video games.
And I did want to say, if you are looking at an Ace Attorney, I would say the first thing to play is the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney HD trilogy, which is also on a bunch of platforms. It might be on Game Pass now even. But that's those first 3 games remastered. And then more recently, they had the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which is 2 games that are like set way in the past. That's like Phoenix Wright's ancestor or something like that.
Oh yeah, the fake Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
Sherlock.
Yes. Put respect on his name, please.
Those games are also good. I think there's a debate. There's a pretty genuine debate between whether the original trilogy and Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is better. Like those are both very good sets of games. I think the Apollo Justice trilogy is generally considered, I'm sure there's people that disagree, generally considered to be like the 3 weakest games in the series, but it's still pretty good. It's like with pizza, even bad pizza is still pizza.
Yeah.
I also don't think they're bad from what I've experienced so far. But if you haven't played it, definitely don't start here, because these are the ones, like, it helps starting Apollo Justice to just know what happened in Phoenix, right? Even though you don't have to, it's just you're going to appreciate stuff more. But for Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and the original trilogy, you can start those fresh. Marcus mentioned that this game is silly goofy, and it totally is. And so I thought I would take this opportunity to play a little game with you guys.
Oh.
And I have assembled a list of character names from this game. And they're often puns or just jokes, little wordplay things.
Are these from the Apollo Justice trilogy, or is this from like across the board?
This is from across the series.
Okay. I might still be at a disadvantage. It's been so long since I've played the original trilogy, so I've likely forgotten some people's names. So yeah.
So this first one, there's a third character added in Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice.
Okay. Wait, what are we?
2 of these names are fake, and 1 of them is real.
Okay.
You're going to tell me which of these is real. Is her name Artemis Truth, Juno Jury, or Athena Sykes? I'll go through this again. Artemis Truth, Juno Jury, Athena Sykes.
How do you want us? Do you want us to just both answer at the same time, or just throw out an answer?
You say whenever you're ready. I'll say which is right.
I think it's Artemis Truth.
I'm gonna say Athena Sykes.
That is 1 point for Marcus.
Yeah.
I am keeping track.
I believe you're supposed to say objection, Jesse.
Objection.
Next up, we have some characters. This is from the first Phoenix Wright game. These characters are in the same trial. Now I'm doing 2 real, 1 fake.
Okay.
Now all the rest of them, you're going to guess which one is the fake one that I've made up.
Oh, okay.
So these are characters from the very first trial in the first Phoenix, right? And their names are just kind of like 2 related things. So we got April May, Red White, and Daisy Rose. Again, that is April May, Red White, and Daisy Rose. And you're guessing which one is fake.
I'm gonna go with. Was it April May?
April May?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's the fake.
Go with Daisy Rose.
That is a point for Jesse.
I'm on the board, baby.
Curses.
Yes. April May, she's a character. She's like wears like a pink jumpsuit, and she's like all cutesy, and then you figure out she's got a dark secret, and she has this like really intensely detailed angry face that haunted me. Next up, this is a trial from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. The opening trial has to do with bombs and explosions. So all these people have bomb names.
Okay.
We
You mean
have
Bomb is in there so good.
Yeah.
I mean, they are pretty good.
Yeah.
We have Bob Candace Arm, and Ted Tonate.
Okay. And we want
Again,
the
that's
fake
Bob
one.
Candace Arm, and Ted Tonate. And you're guessing which one is fake.
It's got to be Bob Omb, right?
See, I thought that, but
I'm pretty sure that's a Paper Mario character.
I feel like the series is cheeky enough to be that blatant. So that's why I didn't immediately bounce on it, but you might be right. What was the last one?
Bob Candace Arm, and Ted Tonate.
I'm gonna go with Ted.
Jesse, you're going with
Bob Omb.
Bob. That is a point for Jesse.
Dang it. Oh, should have trusted my gut. I was like, that one-
90% sure the character's in the Origami King.
Yeah, no, Bob Oms are just, yeah.
I thought that too, but I was like, maybe they just went for it.
They call him Bobby in that game.
They just didn't care. Yeah.
This is from a trial. I don't know which game it is, but these are all like technology people, and their names are all palindromes. So we've got Lisa Basil, Glenn Elg, and Mark Ram.
I'm
And
saying
that is Lisa Basil, Glenn Elg, and Mark Ram.
I'm going Mark Ram.
I'm going, what was it, Glenn Elg?
Glenn Elg.
Yeah, I'm going with that one.
That is a point for Marcus.
Yes. Tied it up, baby.
we have yet to have one where no one gets a point, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Next up, we got some funny kind of rhyming names. We have Charlie Barley, Waki Kataki, and Mimi Miney.
Are you having a stroke?
That is Charlie Barley, Waki Kataki, and Mimi Miney.
Charlie Barley, Waki Kataki?
Waki Kataki,
I'm going with what was the last one you said?
Mimi Miney.
Yeah, I'm going with that one.
Oh man. You know what, Jesse? I'm gonna hold hands with you. I'm gonna also go Mimi
right.
Miney.
You are incorrect. Mimi Miney is real. Mimi Miney has a twin sister, Eenie Miney.
Oh, of course.
Charlie Barley, I made up.
Nah.
So a little self-insert there.
You're so good at making up these names. It was like,
Thank you. Finally, this is the last one. This will be winner takes all. When you start out these games, you face off against Prosecutor Payne.
Right.
Payne. And there are a few incarnations of Prosecutor Payne. You're going to guess which of these is fake. We have Winston Payne, Gaspin Payne, and Howie Payne. Winston Payne, Gaspin Payne, and Howie Payne.
I'm going Howie Payne.
Yeah, I'm also going Howie Payne.
Yeah, holding hands again.
You were both correct. Howie Payne. You guys tied at 3-all.
What
The
happened?
perfect outcome.
Are we just both the winners?
You were both declared not guilty.
Oh, there we go.
Objection. Oh wait, no, that's good. Never mind.
I guess that's
Neither of you committed murder.
I guess that's the real dual destiny.
Hey.
Whoa.
There we go.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Boom. I don't know if there should be a soundbite that accompanies that, but Matt, feel free to... Yes, there we go. Matt, feel free to edit that in. Well, thank you so much, Charles, for that lovely game that we both won. And yeah, check out, I guess, Phoenix Wright. You have a preview of this game up on the site now.
Yes.
So yeah, go to GameInformer.com if you want to read Charles's complete thoughts on the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy coming out next month. And yeah, let's wind the show down with a bit of housekeeping and then maybe answering a couple of listener questions. As soon as I bring it up. So yes, housekeeping. This is the portion of the show where we tell you how to find us, how to keep up with Game Informer content, and of course, how to best support us. And the best way to do that is to purchase single issues of Game Informer. You can pick up an issue at your local GameStop. They are $7.99 each. The Avatar issue is now in stores. I know that because I went to a GameStop a few days ago and I saw a nice stack of them, and it made me beam with pride. And if you're watching the video version, you can see Charles modeling one here, doing his best QVC impression. Look at that. And Jesse would have one. He's like, he's got the idea. It's sort of like, that's how you would hold it. There you go. Perfect. perfect magazine model. So yes, $7.99. Go to GameStop. You can pick up the Avatar issue as well as mini back issues. You can also buy them on GameStop.com and have them shipped right to you. Of course, you can also follow us. You can follow us on social media at various places. We are all over the place. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, all at Game Informer. So keep an eye out for there. And if you want to follow us individually, I am on social media at Marcus Stewart 7 on both Twitter and Blue Sky. Charles, where can the fine folks hit you up?
I'm ChuckDuck365, and I'm everywhere.
There you go. And Jesse Vitelli, where can peeps keep up with you at?
You can find me at Jesse Vitelli. Just my name, nothing fancy. I'm there all over the place. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Don't find me on Facebook. You don't want to be there. LinkedIn, that's a place that you can find my stuff. You know, you type Jesse Vitelli into Google, you'll probably find me. I don't know. You'll figure it out. If you find eggnog enthusiast, like you've probably come to the right spot.
Yeah, you are the only person named Jesse Vitelli on Earth. So
canonically, yes.
Yes,
It's true. I made sure I had the best SEO of all the other Jesse Vitellis to erase them.
Your parents were really big into SEO when they
Yeah. They call me Jesse O, you know?
Whoa.
There you go. You can also follow us on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Game Informer. Should be resuming, or starting rather, a new Super Replay series this Friday because Kyle will be back. We have not announced what that is yet, so stay tuned this Friday to see what that is. Odds are we'll have another stream up as well that you can check out in our stream archives on our second YouTube channel, Game Informer Shows, kind of the sister channel to our primary Game Informer YouTube channel where we have all of our archive streams as well as podcasts like the Game Informer Show that you are currently watching if you're on YouTube, as well as All Things Nintendo, our other podcast hosted by Brian Shea. You can check that out every Friday. And of course, a special shout out to our podcast editor, Matt Storm, aka DJ Stormageddon. Be sure to check out their podcast, Fun and Games, as well as Reignite, which is a BioWare focused podcast. And now we hit the show where you can influence what we talk about, which is our listener questions. If you want to hit us up with a question, you can do so in two ways. You can either email us at podcast@gameinformer.com, or if you're in the Game Informer Discord channel, you can just drop a question into the Game Informer, the Game Informer Show channel. How do you subscribe to the Discord, you ask? Well, you can get access by simply following us on Twitch. Just subscribe to our Twitch channel one time, and that gets you instant access to the Game Informer Discord channel with our lovely GI community who are always great about asking us super fun, super insightful questions. So yeah, you guys ready to answer some of these questions?
Let's do it.
A's for Q's.
Here we go. So Chain Whippin' in Discord asks, have the Game Award winners piqued your interest in picking up something that you weren't going to play? I finally succumbed to Baldur's Gate 3 hype and got the Xbox version, and I might also have to dip my toe into Armored Core 6. So has a Game Award winner ever kind of like made you go, you know what? I think I'm going to check that out. Kind of like, I feel like you have that with Oscars where like, I haven't seen this movie or heard of it, but it won Best Picture, so I'm going to go out of my way to check it out. I'm trying to think if there's anything from this year in particular that's done that I haven't already played.
I don't think, for me personally, I think part of it is because we're like part of the people that vote for and nominate games for the Game Awards. So it's for the most part stuff that we've like been trying to pay attention to. So off my head, I don't really have anything. I've been meaning to play Armored Core 6. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I think that's just in terms of like the buzz people have had from it. I'm like, oh, that seems cool. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of Sea of Stars, and I enjoyed what I played, but seeing it win, was it best debut indie or
I think it was just best indie straight up.
Best indie.
Yeah.
Made me kind of reconsider like, maybe I should make some more time for that. Maybe I should go back and finish that. Because I had played a little bit of it and kind of fallen off, but seeing just how much people really, really loved that game this year, kind of, made me decide like, I'll put that closer to the top of my list of things I'll get to before the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through Sea of Stars, and I echo that. You should definitely get back into it. It's very good. I will say that I think also for the best, I think it was best debut indie, Pizza Tower is recommended, and that's a game that I've been meaning to check out, but just just kind of got buried under everything else. But seeing it nominated again reminded me that I need to go back and give that
Yeah.
a look. So that's probably mine for this year. But yeah, I agree with what Chain Whip is saying. Like that's kind of maybe one of the like low key benefits of these shows is that they're a reminder of things that
Mhm.
either you forgot about or validation of like, oh, this must be good. I didn't know if this was good or not, but it's got like it's up for like 7 things, so maybe I should at least give that a look. So yeah, thank you for Chain Weapon for that. Troidal Power via Discord asks, what's the most perfect food and beverage pairing? For me, it's Mr. Pibb and extra toasty Cheez-Its.
Oh. I'm a big fan of Mexican food and beer. It's
Yeah.
a thing where if I have one, I find myself really wanting the other.
Is there a specific combination of like a specific type of Mexican food and a specific beer that is like your number one?
No, I'm not really picky with beer. I mean, I'd probably get like I don't know, some kind of Mexican specific beer. Um, but like nachos, I think are probably the specific one. I often make nachos like late at night when I don't feel like making other food, and I'm like, I'm just gonna throw some butter and cheese in a pan and make a sauce.
What, you do that late at night? Wow. Okay, I thought you were. I thought you were gonna
It's-
do like the real like
butter,
lazy
butter,
nachos of like I'm gonna sprinkle some shredded cheese and some chips and put it in the microwave for 30 seconds and then there you go. But you're making
I don't
cheese
know.
sauce late at night. Okay.
It's because it's such a specific craving. If it wasn't, I don't know. I'm a very food motivated person. They just opened up a Shake Shack near me.
Right.
And that's not a thing they have in just where I live. It's like a East Coast thing. And I've been dreaming about it all the time. So it's a thing of like if I can't stop thinking about a food and I have the means to make it, doesn't matter what hour it is.
Right.
It's
Wait.
nacho time.
Did you go to Shake Shack yet or?
That was a bad example. I did try to go, but the line was so long that it was like half an hour in line that we were like, we just gotta go. We have places to be. We thought this would be a
Right.
quick stop, and it was not. There was like the sheriff was there. Like the sheriff was there directing traffic.
Oh my
Because
god.
there was such a big line to get into this stupid Shake Shack. Which these poor people like have only worked there for like a day, and then they have the craziest opening weekend ever.
That's the like I hope you were paying attention during training because here it comes. It's
Yeah.
like,
That was like they just recently opened a Raising Cane's in Times Square, and when I work at the theater, it's like right around the corner from it. And I walked by it, and it was like there was a sign that it was like line 6 hours from this point, and it was like people just lined up in Times Square for Raising Cane's. And I got nothing against Raising Cane's, but I was like, it's just a chicken tender.
yeah, it's literally they have 4 menu items.
Yeah.
It's about it.
Just somewhere else, it's okay.
20 minutes is tops.
And they're
you
all
know?
just different.
hours.
Like every menu item is just different quantities of chicken tenders in
Yeah.
one sandwich. It's like it's funny you say that because they opened a Raising Cane's in Orlando and it was the same situation. Like it just opened and I went over there 2 days ago and long line with also a cop car present.
Yeah.
So I mean, and
People line
I
up for these chain restaurants.
yeah, I mean there was a White Castle right next to it that was the same situation that opened a year and a half ago, so it's still pretty new and it's still super busy. You know, the things we do for our fast food. Jesse, did you have a answer to this food drink combination that's your go-to?
Yeah, so I don't drink a lot of soda just generally, but there's something about going to like a diner and getting just like a diner burger and like a fountain soda. There's just something about it that is just like, man, just like a nice big burger, some French fries, and like a Coca-Cola. And like to
Yeah.
me, that's like the ultimate pairing.
Is it you get it like do they serve it in the fancy Coke bottle?
No, it's gotta be the fountain soda. You gotta get
Oh,
it from
like
the
they do the-
machine, just in the glass.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
of those
Did
like
you know there's
plastic
just, like-
glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know it's just like underneath there, it's just a box of syrup that's just going through seltzer. Like you're just like, yeah,
There's a gazillion ants under the counter.
yeah. It's like a little dirty, but you're cool with it. It's like
Yeah.
great.
It's like a diner has to have like an acceptable level of grime to be a diner. Like it can't be
Exactly.
too clean. It it has to be like it has to be just shy of being a health code violation.
Yes. That's how you know it's good.
Exactly. God, I feel like I don't know because I don't like I always tell people that I drink like 90% water, and it's like when I go out to eat, I always get water. And it's not like a money thing. It's just like that's just I don't drink soda. I don't drink a lot of like super sugary drinks. So I just like and water's like the best thing you can drink in terms of hydration. So like and it's neutral, so it doesn't interfere with the food that you're eating too. So and then when it's not that, it's probably coffee. So like maybe a nice cup of coffee with like a good dessert is probably my answer for this. Like maybe like an I don't know, like an apple pie a la mode. Like after maybe in the same diner, Jesse.
Yeah.
You get the,
Yeah, you're sitting across from me. You get the apple pie and the coffee. I get the burger and the soda.
yeah.
And Charles is making nachos.
And I'm at home by myself.
Coming over with the beer.
It's like we called him to come, but he said he had other things to do with his life and didn't
I'm
want to
so
wait.
sorry. I just started this roux. I really got to stream this milk in slowly enough.
So I've been at the Shake Shack for 4 hours.
I don't think I'm gonna make it, guys. There we go. Oh God, I'm hungry now. I haven't actually had a big lunch. I had a mild lunch preview. I don't know. Luke Skywalker via Discord asks, what songs are you hoping will be added to Fortnite's Rock Band mode? And will y'all be streaming with instruments when support is eventually added?
I think it's called Chug Jug with You.
Yeah.
It's a parody of American Boy by Estelle. So it's like, number 3 Royale. Yeah, Fortnite, we about to get down. Get down. Yeah. So, Marcus, are you familiar with that?
No.
So, Marcus, you've never been in high school while Fortnite is out?
I thought you were going to say you've never been in high school.
It's just a different
But you are, the
world.
first thing is correct, yes.
Yeah. That's just a symptom of it, is people singing, just talking about Fortnite, singing that song.
Yeah. Okay. Is WAP in the game yet?
Nope.
Okay, that's my answer.
Now the question is, do they censor it?
And I don't think
Absolutely.
you legally no, you can't.
Legally, they can't.
I think it should be against the law to censor it.
Cardi B will hurt you.
It's the Kids Bob version. It's like wings and pizza.
Whoa. Well, and it's funny because there's a vocals track. I feel like it would just be nothing. Like you have the guitars like doing all that stuff.
You
And
just
then
stand there, just like I don't know.
single note. And there's some.
I mean, they already put separate ratings on these modes now, so they could just do that. Just be like, hey, just so you know, mature.
True.
I don't know if I need a specific song. I just need more songs.
There we go.
At this point, it's just a quantity game for me.
What if you put like Weird Al songs in? Like, I used to think that like it'd be funny if they put Weird Al songs in like Rock Band or Guitar Hero, even if they're like kind of basically covers, but still, or at least for like Rock Band, like it would be funny for whoever's the vocalist to have to sing like Weird Al songs, you know?
Just the entirety of Running with Scissors in Rock Band. Like, yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Let's make that happen. Or put Weird Al in Fortnite. Just make him a character.
Definitely put Weird Al in Fortnite, first of all.
I'm surprised Weird Al's not in Fortnite already.
Yeah. Seems like his kind of thing.
Tomorrow they announce it, and then we can look back on this podcast and be like, here we go. We called it. Willed it into existence. All right. J-Herb via Discord asks, given Street Fighter 6's recent addition of modern controls, what do you think will be the next evolution in fighting games? I would love to see more fighting games experiment with practice modes, mini games, and off-the-wall campaigns like Smash does. Super Smash Brothers.
Well, do I have news for you, J-Herb? Tekken 8 sounds like it's got all of that, according to Brian Shea.
Yeah.
So, mini games, off-the-wall campaign.
True.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Off
Training
the wall,
modes.
in the air.
I wonder, like, because I get what he's saying with, like, especially, like, the modern control stuff, which we've seen variations of in most recent fighting games of, like, more or less simplified controls, so it's not as difficult to play immediately. Man, because I think between Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat, they've all become so robust with their offerings that it's like outside of adding like a brand new, like basically adding a mode that's more or less a different genre into the game. Like the 2000s Mortal Kombat games used to do that, right? Where they had like the kart racing mode and like chess and like puzzle combat.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. What if Street Fighter 7 was somehow a first person shooter, but it was first person Hadoukens?
I would love that.
Or just first person mode.
Yeah, like, you know, they already have World Tour, which is like the third person, basically open world Yakuza Light game. So what if it was first person that and you're Ryu and you can throw punches and, you know, you're seeing it and you can just shoot Hadoukens in first person. And
I'll take it one step further. We'll do VR Mortal Kombat.
Oh.
But first person VR Mortal Kombat. So it's like you really hate getting hit in certain ways because you really feel it.
Like if you
threw a spear into my stomach.
Oh my god. Like if you get decapitated, you see your head like being separated from its body. So it's like first
like pops off your head, like it has like haptics. Shoots
or it just goes black.
Yeah, or you're the one doing the fatality, so you have to do the motions of like slicing this person's throat open and like seeing their entrails fall or whatever, and it really makes you think about
poking your head through, like looking like you do in VR. You're like, oh, this is gross. What did I do?
Yeah,
I reach my whole hand in there.
There we go. Yeah, first person fatalities. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Mortal Kombat. What are we up to now? 12, or 2,
well, 2
whatever
is
we call the next one. Yeah.
Well, if they do Mortal Kombat 1 plus 2 and then get rid of the plus sign, it becomes Mortal Kombat 12.
Oh, I think you just described what that reveal trailer is going to be.
Sorry, Ed Boon.
So
come up with a new idea.
1-2 Mortal Kombat.
God. Zachary
Switch.
After that, it's everybody's Mortal Kombat.
Every mini game is death. just the most horrible thing you've ever seen in your life.
Scorpion wearing a horse head mask.
He cut off Motaro. He's basically a horse. Just Motaro's head. Oh God. Zachary Pliggy in Discord asks, will Harada finally add the 2 greatest martial artists to Tekken 8 as DLC characters, Bruce Leroy and Shonuff? Yes, they will.
Yeah.
That would be. I think I'm going to, like, in the spirit of that question, ask, like, also, for those that don't know who Bruce Leroy is, have you guys seen The Last Dragon?
No.
80s martial arts film. Basically, like, I don't know if I go all the way to call it blaxploitation. It was kind of like in the dying days of that, but it was more or less like Enter the Dragon or like a Bruce Lee movie, but with like an all black cast. And it's basically a comedy, kind of like a parody too. It's very good. You should go out of your way to watch The Last Dragon and see Bruce Leroy, who was the protagonist. With that said, if you guys could have a dream guest character in Tekken 8, because they've done guest character for, like, what was it, Tekken 7 had Negan from the Walking Dead,
and Prince Noctis Lucius Calum from Final Fantasy 15.
That's right, I forgot about that. So does that mean Clive for 8? I don't know. Yeah, who do you want to see in Tekken 8? One guest fighter, whoever.
Goro Majima from Like a Dragon, Yakuza.
Oh, that's good.
That's who I want.
That's good.
Answer.
It's gonna be hard to top.
Thought about it a lot.
Let's see. Mortal Kombat just did like all these sort of like evil Supermen, basically, with like Omni-Man and stuff. Trying to think of something in the spirit of Negan, of something that was just completely left field.
Ely from Fortnite.
I think you said Jeff Keighley at first.
My answer is Weird Al.
Yeah.
Weird Al throws someone into a volcano and sings about it. There we go. Maybe God, I almost said Homelander, but that's happening. That's actually happening. Squid Game guy, the main guy from Squid
Okay.
Game.
Okay,
What
for
was it,
sure.
number 99 or whatever?
Something like that.
He was like the last one, basically, 1,000, 100, I don't know. Him, where he's like basically God because every time he's about to lose, he wins through like some weird luck or like somebody else slipping on a banana peel, basically. Like he, just when you think you have him, he comes back in some weird way. So yeah, I don't know, Squid Game, Mr. Squid Game.
Mr. Squid Game.
I don't remember his name. But
First name Squid, last name Game.
that's how he introduces himself when he walks into the arena. So there you go, Harada. If you're listening, we've basically laid out your next year of DLC plans. Let's see here. Last question, chock full of in Discord asks, can you explain the news about the game the day before? I never understood why there was so much hype about this game, and then I just saw the studio close days after launch. The day before, no, it's yeah. So at least at the time that we're recording, what was it, yesterday or today? That the studio behind the day before, which was an MMO zombie survival game that had been hyped up for I think years. Like I would hear about it off and on. I never followed it super closely. I would just see an update every now and then and go, oh, that could be cool, and then sort of move on. But it finally came out in early access. It didn't actually fully launch, and from what I understand from people that played it, it was really bad, and also maybe maybe bad in ways that could be considered fraudulent.
Yeah.
And then
The first IGN one I think I've ever seen.
right, yeah. And then what, like a few days after it came out, the studio announced that they were shutting down because of the game's poor financial performance. And they're like, hey, I'm sorry, we wanted to make this better, but we can't because we can't afford it and we have no money. And they only recently came out and said that they would be offering refunds to peeps that bought the early access version.
You
And
also can't buy the game currently. Like it's completely taken off Steam.
yeah, the store page is still there. You just can't buy it. So if you want to go stare at it, I guess you can do that. So yeah, I guess that answers the question of what it was. But did either of you two play it at all? Because I did not. Or
I've been consuming a lot of my knowledge of this game through TikTok and watching other people sort of kind of show what's up with it. And like my understanding is that they showed off these really flashy trailers, sort of this like look at our game, it's so cool, and it gained a lot of like hype on social media and other places because like this game looked too good to be true, which normally means it's too good to be true. And then I was watching clips of people like they would go to shoot a zombie and they would just get fatal error and the game would crash, and then they'd load it back up and shoot and it would go fatal error and the game would crash, to the point where like people weren't even able to like play this game.
it was a fatal arrow. They
And
did kill someone.
it's just
That's true.
I don't know how we really got here outside of like trailers gaining a lot of hype, and there seemed to be this like weird social buzz about this game that no one's really seen gameplay of or played themselves or whatever,
Right.
and then it kind of kept getting kicked down the line. It reminds me a lot of what was that game that everybody thought Kojima was a part of? Or
Abandoned?
the Silent Hill. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Abandoned
Which
in that sort of weird marketing cycle where there's no real product at the end of
yeah,
the day.
it's like almost like glorified vaporware, basically. Of like, is this? Which, by the way, now that you bring up Abandoned, do we know what's up with that game officially yet? Like, is that like, because I remember they put out that weird app that I downloaded that had like 2 videos of like a guy stepping on a wooden board or something like that, and it was just supposed to show off the engine. But then after that, there was all the news reports about it possibly being shady and stuff like that. Like there was something with like that game's Discord channel or something like that. But yeah, I still have not heard like, I was wondering, like, have I missed any official confirmation that this is either a scam or what is happening with that game?
Just kind of fell into the ether, much like it sounds like the day before did, where it kind of goes away and then resurfaces and then eventually
Implodes.
comes out and is what it is. So I don't want to say that game is like that. I don't know what that game's development story is. It could be great if it exists, but there's a lot of similarities I've seen between
Yeah.
these two projects and the way that people are sort of making them their personality when they're really hyped up. They're like, oh, it's gonna be the best game ever. We're gonna play. It's gonna be below our minds. Blah blah blah. And then it comes out and it's like, not what was advertised.
No, and in this game's case, it seems like it missed the mark by an incredibly wide margin, from what I'm hearing. Yeah, it's wild. You don't really see disasters of this scale like that often. Of like, I mean, I can remember the last time a studio closed almost immediately after shutting down. I mean, Shadow the
Yeah,
Gambit, the
that's-
Cursed Crew, that happened, but for a much different reason. Like that game was good, and then that
What was
studio.
that the battle royale game that the Lawbreakers devs made?
Oh, wait,
Was it Radical
Free?
Heights?
Radical Heights. Yeah, I think that's.
I feel like that was like they released that and then shortly after that studio shut down. Not
Yeah.
exactly the same situation, but like a similar
Right.
like game release to studio closure being a couple weeks.
It's like the game release being like almost like a final gasp of like, hey,
Yeah.
this is coming out too late for it to make a difference in terms of our future, so we're just putting it out and writing it off basically, unless somehow it became like a gazillion-dollar success in mere hours. But other than that, this is kind of it for us. Yeah, it's wild. Like I said, they at least seem to be doing right by players by offering refunds. You know, good luck with that if you purchase this and, you know, played it longer than sort of Steam's refund policy allows, and hopefully that gets sorted out sooner than later. But yeah, sounds like a huge mess. Also, the DayZ response to that, not great either. I don't know if you guys saw that. Have you seen that, Jesse?
Was this the like the one where they were like shit happens or whatever?
No,
You see
the,
that Twitter
the
response?
the DayZ Twitter account basically tweeted out a parody of the day before Twitter announcement of basically saying, "Hey, we're closing." Like, you know, that message they put out of like, "Hey, we're closing." They pretty much copied it like verbatim, but just filled the line. They just said like, "Hey, DayZ's great." Like they did the same format as that announcement, but it was just saying, "Hey, you know, DayZ's still around and DayZ has been doing well." And then because you know in the day before announcement, they had the timeline of like, here's when the studio was founded, here's when we announced the day before, here's when we launched it, and like by year. And they did that with DayZ of like, here's when DayZ was announced and here's when DayZ launched. And it has not gone over very well, to say the least. Of like, that seems in poor taste. Like, yes, there's a good.
It was so fast too.
Yeah,
which
it was like
interesting to me,
immediate.
of, like they must have made the decision like like someone on the team was like, "Hey guys, I made this. Should I post it?"
Yeah, like we read this once. It was like, you know, it'd be funny. Let's not talk about this. Let's just put it out. Like this is if this is a bad look for us, regardless of whether or not, you know, we don't know for sure whether that studio was like shady all the way around. But even if there was some shady people, I doubt the entire development team was involved in any. It's like it's still people losing their jobs. So I don't know if that's a great look. You know, it's like maybe you just don't say anything. Just instead of kind of like dancing under graves a bit. So yeah, that was another thing I saw that I was like, ooh, I don't know if that was a good idea.
Yikes.
So yeah, but yeah, chock full of hope that answers your question, and yeah, go watch a trailer about it too. See what could have been. I need to look up some of those.
There's gonna be a sick documentary about this game in a couple years. Someone's gonna get that story and write it, and I cannot wait.
Oh yeah, somebody.
Someone call up what's his name? Alex Van Aken?
Yeah,
making
that guy.
making documentaries.
Maybe that's why he's not here. He saw this and he's like, I got to get on this.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's gonna be called The Day After.
there you go.
easy pickings. Go for it.
Well, I think that wraps up this episode of the Game Informer Show. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. Jesse Vitelli, thank you so much for once again coming on. Like we mentioned up top, you are now a free agent. You are free to go anywhere you want. Feel free to promote anything that you want to promote, or just how can people find you?
Yeah, people can find me primarily on Twitter. It's usually where I hang around at Jesse Vitelli. I wish I had like more to promote or do anything like this. I became a free agent on Monday, so it's really been just a whirlwind of. I left on I left onto my new chapter, onto my next challenge.
Yeah.
And it feels good and it's exciting, and I'm excited to be able to collaborate with folks like y'all and whoever else out in the ether would like to make some cool stuff. or hire me for a job, that's also cool. Health insurance is sick. But yeah, Twitter at Jesse Vitelli. Again, if you just Google my name, you'll probably find me somewhere. If you go to Twitter, though, you'll find my email account and links to all my other projects and stuff. And feel free to contact me if you want to get in touch for any reason, for work or just to make cool video. Like, I love sitting here and chatting with y'all and just making cool stuff. It's the best part of the job, honestly.
Awesome.
100%.
And you've done some like really cool stuff over at Prima that people can still go check out. So yeah, keep Jesse in mind if you're out there hiring. He's awesome. There you go. And Charles, of course, thank you as always for joining me. And be sure to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. And visit GameInformer.com for all of our online content. And as always, of course, please subscribe to Game Informer Magazine and pick up those single issues that I mentioned before. Great way to support us and all of our great editors. So until next week, we shall see you next time. Have a good one. Treat everyone well. And we'll see you then. Bye.